representation, say, as the more richer, powerful organisations that
Yeah,
have
bigger.
bigger boats.
Yeah. And this obviously, has serious safety concerns then, because should a fisherman that's out on the water on his own take sick for some reason that, he can't contact, for example, the Coast Guard, he can't make contact with anyone on land, they're on their own, and, until they don't return to shore, nobody knows to provide them with help.
Well, this does the part of the problem. Like, fishermen take every precaution they can in order to avoid accidents, and like at the moment, there's so much safety equipment and everything else on the boats, but you can't mitigate for everything. Unfortunately, accidents and incidents happen, and if you're on your own, you're in more danger of not getting aid or help as quick as what it could happen if you were fishing with somebody else on board the boat.
And do you see a way to improve this? I know you talked about there's so many, the number of fishermen is getting smaller and there's so many people leaving the industry and seeking a different career. But do you see anything that could be done to improve safety?
Well, it's difficult to know. We have a lot of over the past 20 years, safety on board boats has greatly increased. And the number of accidents has been greatly reduced, and there is a lot of there's a lot of good things coming down the line that could be of help to people. Like, we're moving into a different world now with artificial intelligence and different things like that, which could provide maybe better safety vests or something like that there. So if a person did get out and they couldn't reach the wheelers, that they could actually maybe use an artificial intelligence could actually help them send out a signal without them having to do it themselves. So there's so many different things coming down the line, and I think within the next couple of years we will see these changes.
Yeah, because obviously they are necessary, because this, is the reality of the changes within the industry. So, it does need to be adapted as well. And I suppose, the government has a role to play in this, because the fishing industry is such a huge sector here in Donegal and across Ireland.
Yeah, well, the joint, we heard from the fishermen at the joint committee saying that one job at sea influences 7 jobs on land. And in Cornwall, they did a study and they found that for every job at sea, it influenced 12 jobs on land.
Right.
So the economic knock-on from the fishing is very positive, but we seem to have come up against a wall in this country with the government who has actually narrowed down the variety of fishing activities that a small inshore fisherman can do.
Yeah.
And if there's a variety of activities that they can do, I think that's it's a lot. First of all, it makes it more interesting for the fishermen themselves and bringing young people into the industry. And it's also better for conservation of fish stocks. And over the years, we've seen the salmon fishing being taken away from the inshore fishermen, and that was due to pressure groups. We've seen the mackerel quota that they were entitled to reduced since 2012. We've seen the herring fishing ring fenced, and last year in 2024 there was no cod fishing on the Irish coast, and that caused quite a few fishermen to have to leave the industry because they just couldn't afford to keep their boats going. And now you're looking at pressure groups like Fair Seas looking for marine protected areas. And the thing about a marine protected area is if you put a marine protected area somewhere, unfortunately, that affects the fishermen in that area, and because they're small boats, they can't move out of that area and go somewhere else to fish. So
Yeah.
there's all these different pressures, and it's not making it look like a very attractive career.
No.
So there's such a thing as safety in numbers, and I think that applies to the industry as well. The more people that's in it, the better it is for issues, for things like development and safety and that.
Yeah, and we were talking obviously in relation to Kevin McCluskey and how he worked for quite a number of years. Began his career in the fishing industry, but that doesn't seem to be the case. That this generational pass down within the industry doesn't seem to happen as much anymore.
No, it doesn't. Well, there's a lot more options out there for young people. Education has been opened up. Uh, as we can see in Letterkenny and in Killybegs, the ATU is providing so many more options. When I left school, secondary school in 1993, there wasn't as there's only a fraction of the options that's available now. So young people have a greater choice, but also at the same time, we have a lot of young people who are very passionate about fishing,
Yeah.
but they're just finding it very hard to see where their place is in the future. And I can relate to that, because in 1996, I was questioning where my place in the industry was. And, for me, I couldn't see a long-term future, and I couldn't see myself owning a boat. And, because it's just really, really expensive to try and get into the industry, or to step up in the industry to get your own boat and to move on from there. And any young person who's able to do that, I have to take my hat off to them and say fair dues.
Because I'm sure it's obviously quite an expense.
Yes, it's hugely expensive. Like for if you're having to fish lobster pots or crab pots, I think it was a chat to a fisherman a few years ago. Between the pot and the rope, it costs €100 a pot.
Just for one,
so,
yeah. God.
You need to be fishing, and maybe some people are fishing maybe in the range of 1,000 pots. So, that's already a huge expense even before you put diesel into the boat to start fishing. So, yeah, that's very expensive. And boats now are getting more expensive to run because of the increasing price of fuel. And markets are very vulnerable as well, because first of all, after Brexit, and then because of the war in Ukraine, and a lot of the market that was in Asia has been flooded by Russian crab, because more or less as a kickback to the sanctions that's been put on them by Europe.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to, unfortunately, be an attractive career for many people, and it is sad. It's a sad reality, I suppose. But Oliver McBride, editor of the Fishing Daily, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. And just before we go, I just want to say I would like to pass my condolences to the family and friends and the community of Killybegs on the loss of Kevin.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to say that we really appreciate the work of the volunteers of the Irish Coast Guard and the RNLI. And when an incident like this here happens, you really see community come together. And you've seen that in Killybegs, with so many boats taking part in the search for somebody from their own place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah.
And we echo Oliver's comments there as well. And it was a very busy few days for the rescue services. In a separate incident at around 2:30 p.m. on Thursday, the Killybegs Coast Guard was tasked by Mallinhead Coast Guard to reports of a missing person at Mallamore. After a short search, the missing person was located deceased. Killybegs Coast Guard have thanked the rescue woman at the National Ambulance Service and Garda Síochána and locals who helped in this search. They have also expressed their condolences to the deceased person's family. So very busy few days, unfortunately, for the rescue services. And indeed, we're thinking on that person and Kevin McCluskey, the family and friends and colleagues of them as well.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Get ready, Donegal. The big Highland Bingo Party is here.
On Saturday the 29th of November, the Villa Rose Hotel Ballabuffaid transforms into the wildest Christmas party of the year.
Hosted by me, Keith Fletcher, Lee Gooch and Marty Friel on the decks.
Think festive cocktails, classic party anthems, ridiculous games of course and mad bingo mayhem.
Loads of prizes on the night with the €1,000 top cash prize up for grabs.
You better be quick. Tickets are on sale. Grab yours on Eventbrite or check out highlandradio.com.
The big Highland Bingo Party. Over 18s.
Ha ha! It's bingo, but not as you know it.
Bingo every Monday night at the Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. Snowball is now €1,550 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's the Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot tonight at 8:30.
It's Cabaret 25 at Harvey's Point. We start again on Wednesday, September the 3rd, and every Wednesday until November the 5th. An amazing lineup of stars, gourmet food, the warmest of welcomes, and all in the beautiful surrounds of Harvey's Point on Lough Esk, Donegal Town. Book today 074 972 2208 or harveyspoint.com. The Harvey's Point Cabaret, a night not to be missed.
You know the forecast will say dry, and it'll lash. You know the Lewis will be late. Again. You know that first coffee in the morning? Magic. And now with Energy, you'll know what your bill's going to be before it lands. Our app gives you monthly predictions, daily updates, and shows you where you can save. That's being one step ahead. With Energy, you just know. ROI only. 18 plus. T's and C's apply. See unoenergy.ie.
Energy. I'm Fionnuala Fibre O'Farrell Flynn, racing across the country to keep up with NBI's fibre rollout. Over 50 broadband providers are using NBI's network to bring high-speed fibre broadband to homes across Ireland. So from Ballyliffin to Ballybuffet, homeowners can pick whatever package suits their needs and still get all the benefits of rural Ireland's dedicated fibre broadband network. Connect at nbi.ie.
NBI is delivering the government's national broadband plan.
Another connection. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels.
Now, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's Michaela Clark in this morning for Greg Hughes, and we have, thanks to Ash and Kelly, got our stream back up and running, so you can watch along on our social media channels as well as our website, highlandradio.com. I'm joined now on the line by Lorna Walsh. Good morning, Lorna.
Good morning, Michaela.
So, Lorna, I'm sure it's been a difficult few days. Your daughter has type 1 diabetes, and because she doesn't have an assigned SNA, she's been forced to leave school. What is the current situation with regards to that?
Well, the current situation is last week I got a phone call from Messino to say they would be coming out to assess school within the next 2 weeks. And I told her 2 weeks was too long because Alyssa was already out of school for a week. And I just find it's unfair with 2 weeks. It's not good enough. So she said she would speak to the principal and hopefully have it resolved within a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that was perfect, that was fine. Then the principal got in contact with me and said the only date she could come out is the 8th of October. So I'm in the situation now that's a week and a half away.
Mm.
And that's just her to look around the school and that. So
yeah, it's obviously the reality is it would be longer than that then before Alyssa's allowed back to school.
Yeah, it's how long I'm going to have to wait after that for them to make a decision. Then if she gets approved it, where they would have to put out, sorry, I can't get the word.
No, you're okay. They would have to put out
like
kind of a tender, or they'd have to advertise it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then you have to wait then for that length of time on when she go back. It could be November, which is so unfair.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, she's just starting off, you know, in her education. And, you know, it's so important at that stage to, you know, mix with the different children in her class. And she's had that and then been removed from it and having to go back into it now. It is far from ideal.
It is far from it. I was told she wouldn't be made any difference for her diabetes, but it doesn't look that way. It looks like she's been ruled out because she has diabetes.
Mm.
Do you know, where she's missing what her friends are doing, what they're learning in class, to jump on, and then she's missed so many weeks of what they have learned to try and catch up with them. Now, she's a smart wee cookie, she probably could catch up with them.
Yeah, it's not the point though either, isn't it? No.
It's not the point, no. It's the fact that she's sitting here and the school is back to normal, should I say.
Yeah.
Practically.
And how has it been? Have you had to try and homeschool her then yourself?
I have. Now, her teacher is brilliant. I asked if she could send home wee bits of work for her, and Alyssa loves getting the books home.
Yeah.
You know, to do the news, all the different things and that. So that's exactly what we've been doing. But it's not the same because she's not interacting with other people.
Yeah. And how does she feel herself?
She just keeps asking,
yeah,
when can she go back? She just doesn't understand where the rest of them are going out to school in the morning and she's here in the house.
Yeah.
Do you know, I don't know. I feel like I'm at a loss.
I know. And, you know, Alyssa had that SNA when she was at preschool, didn't she? Was there any difficulty in securing that, or that was a given whenever she started preschool?
No, there was no insecurity. She was granted it straight away.
Yeah.
And her SNA was brilliant. She done all the training, all the courses, and she got to know Alyssa, so she knew if her behaviour was off or she just looked that wee bit different. She would say, "Oh, they're showing off today."
Yeah.
With her, it's just to have that, know somebody that's going to get used to Alyssa and know her behaviours and.
Yeah, and it's so important with type 1 diabetes that, you know, she does need that immediate intervention when it's required.
Yes, because she can't turn around and say, "Oh, I don't feel well," or "My sugars feel very high," or things like that. Where her SNA was able to spot it out straight away and manage to control it.
Yeah. So will there be training required for hopefully this new SNA?
Yeah.
So that could extend the period of time before they are in place as well, could it?
Well, I'm pretty sure there's ones out there would have training
already. Yeah.
Already on it. Like her old SNA, she is willing to apply for the job.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah.
That would be great because she knows her.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
She knows everything what's going on with her. Because the school had her they funded her for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
in the school, which was great because I felt relaxed because she knew exactly what to do and work with Alyssa.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
And
they have now.
yeah, and Lorna, now whenever this inspection is carried out and the recruitment process is completed and an SNA employed to support Alyssa, will this now be for the long term throughout the duration of her education, or is it something that every year or every so many years will have to be reviewed?
That's what I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that. I would say throughout years it will get better where she'll be able to tell you, well, I feel this way or I need this. Or she might need as much attention on it. But for now, she definitely needs
that constant monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, the unknown and, thinking that it could be November now and we don't know what is to come between now and then. And just to think that, as you said earlier, she's kind of being discriminated against because she has type 1 diabetes, that she's just been, you've been told to remove her from education.
Yes, that is 100% because no child should feel different. May they be type 1 or any other medical, or may they have ADHD, no matter what, no child should feel different. And it breaks my heart what she is made feel different for a medical condition she can't control.
And just to the fact that, she was at school and then was removed, she wasn't removed, you were told to remove her. It's just crazy that, that is a situation that you as a family have been left to deal with now.
That is it. They say a child shouldn't miss so many days of school, but in my situation, what am I to do?
Yeah.
Where she can't attend school because she hasn't got an SNA to support her.
And it's just crazy. And, there is these proposed changes to the SNA guidelines, and we're already at this situation with yourself and Alyssa and God knows how many other families out there. And, Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty raised it in the Dáil last week, and the proposed changes could see a decrease in the number of children supported by SNAs. But, there's a clear need that, I suppose, SNA numbers need to be increased.
They definitely do. There is no shortage of SNAs out there. There is plenty of ones what's willing to go on. And if a child needs help, it needs help, no matter what the case may be. They shouldn't be decreasing it because it's putting more pressure on the schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on teachers, what is trying to give them the education what they need, not taking time out. If Alyssa was in the classroom and there was no SNA, well, the teacher would be closely monitoring her and not have the time to teach the class. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
It shouldn't work like that, especially when there is so many SNAs out there what's willing to do the job, and it's the children then what's missing out.
And I suppose
because they're not getting the support.
Yeah, it is positive that, this inspection is going to be carried out and hopefully an SNA recruited, because the funding hopefully will be made available and that will be a positive outcome in terms of Alyssa. But it's just, how many other children are going to be in this situation and having to be removed from school? Surely this funding should have been made available from the start of the year. It's just now that, when the issue arises. You know, again, the government's being reactive rather than proactive in this situation.
Yes, I really think it should be mandatory for any child with any medical condition or any needs, where an SNA should be there to support. Every school needs an SNA in each classroom.
Yeah, definitely.
They do, where they can't turn around and say, well, we can't fund this. There's plenty of funding out there what can support the schools and support the children what needs it. And it's unfair what children have to go without the support, and they're struggling through the years of school.
Yeah.
And it makes more pressure on parents, where they're worrying, well, how's my child doing today in school? Is everything okay? Are they learning what they need to be? It's just, I don't know what way it's going for the support. It's not fair. It really is not fair.
Well, Lorna, thank you so much for joining us this morning and giving us that update in relation to Alyssa. Sadly, she's still out of school at the minute, but hopefully, you know, she shouldn't have to wait these coming weeks and months, but hopefully there will be a positive outcome. Thank you so much, Lorna.
Thank you, Michaela.
And we did get in touch with the department as well. So the Department of Education and Youth has said that special needs assistants play a central role in the successful inclusion of students with additional and significant care needs in schools. They help ensure that these students can access an education to enable them to achieve their best outcomes and reach their full potential. The number of SNAs employed across the education system has grown significantly, with more than 23,000 now in place, an increase of almost 7,000 posts, or 43% since 2020. And I suppose this is, if you were listening to our news bulletins last week or seen the story on our website, this is the exact same response that was given to Donegal Deputy Pearse Doherty. But the statement goes on to say, in relation to this case, which is Alyssa, the NCSE has advised that they have been in close contact with the school concerned and will continue to work with the school and the family as required. It is a matter for the Board of Management to ensure that SNAs are in a position to effectively meet the care needs of students for whom SNA support has been allocated in the school. Where specific training is required, the Board of Management should liaise with the Health Service Executive in order to ensure that the HSE provides guidance and training that enables the SNA to meet the care needs of the pupil in an appropriate manner. It is a matter for individual school authorities to make such arrangements locally. Well, I suppose, you know, the appropriate SNA was in place for Alyssa in school to deal and monitor her type 1 diabetes, and it was just the fact that there was no funding in place to allow that SNA to remain in the role. But as Lorna was outlining there, an inspection is due to be carried out and a recruitment process will ensue then. But unfortunately, that will take a number of weeks.
Looking for a career in Donegal with real purpose and growth potential? Tata Consultancy Services, proud winner of Workplace of the Year, is hiring customer service professionals. Be part of a passionate, innovative team with great opportunities to grow your tech career right here in Donegal. Apply today at tcscareers.ie. That's tcscareers.ie.
Experience a magical night of traditional Irish folk with Trasna, Ger O'Donnell and Trevor Sexton, masters of guitar, flute, banjo, whistle, double bass and more. Saturday, 18th of October at Anchurch Hotel, Gidor. Tickets €25. Accommodation packages available. Book at anchurchhotel.com or hotel reception.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.se.uk or visit Discover CAFRE on Facebook.
Abby's definitely more of a summer person, so time for one last al fresco hurrah. And that means a trip to Aldi, because there won't be many more bright evenings left. No siree. A butternut squash salad sounds yum, made with specially selected rigatoni, barrel-aged feta cheese topped with walnuts. Might need a jumper though, and a glass of something small, just to keep the evening chill out, you understand. Good food, good mood from Aldi.
Experience an unforgettable evening of gospel music with Patrick Feeney in concert, joined by the Kilcar Community Singers at the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, on Sunday 5th of October. All in aid of the Kevin Bell Repatriation Trust in memory of Jenna Shovlin. Tickets just €30 on Ticketmaster or local shops displaying the poster. That's Patrick Feeney in concert Sunday 5th of October in Ardra.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, any mist and fog will clear later this morning. Today will be mainly cloudy with scattered rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees. We'll be back after the news at 10.
Cooney's Home Interior's biggest ever floor clearance sale is now on, with huge savings across all departments, sofas, dining, bedroom. Stock must go to make way for Cooney's largest ever Christmas shop. Sofa sets from $12.99, complete bed from $4.99, table and chairs from $6.99. Thousands of euros to be saved. But hurry, only while stocks last. Cooney's Home Interior's Letterkenny Retail Park open 7 days.
I had problems with my knees for about 7-8 years. I think I'd give Kingsbridge 5 stars just because of the support and help that they gave me before and after the surgery. I was a public patient and the HSE reimbursed the costs.
Public patients in the Republic of Ireland can get rapid access to cross-border surgeries at Kingsbridge private hospitals in Belfast and Derry, with medical costs reimbursed by the HSE. Find out more at kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com/cross-border. Kingsbridge, your fast track to 5-star care. Terms and conditions apply.
Planning a celebration? Discover the brand new Lily's Restaurant at the Mount Errigal Hotel. A stylish new space with beautiful surroundings and your own private bar. Perfect for birthdays, communions, anniversaries and more. Book now at Res Diary or call 074 912 2700.
Monster Bingo every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel. €3,300 must go with €1,000 on the last page. Doors open 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo this and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
When the time comes, the last thing you want is for your family to worry about funeral costs. That's why On Post Insurance offers funeral insurance for those aged 50 to 75. A simple way to help ease the burden for the people you care about most. Take a moment today to plan ahead. Call 0818 22 22 22 or visit onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as On Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post. Funeral insurance is underwritten and provided by New Ireland Assurance Company plc. On Post Insurance is a tied agent of New Ireland Assurance Company plc for life assurance business.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. Tributes have been paid to Kevin McCluskey, the fisherman who was found dead after a search that spanned the course of 3 days. His remains were located by a local fishing vessel off the coast of Donegal near Teelan on Saturday evening. The alarm had been raised on Thursday after his boat had ran aground. Oliver McBride, editor of the Fishing Daily, said Kevin was dedicated to his work on this morning's 9 till noon show. He told Michaela Clark about a time when he had interviewed Mr. McCluskey in 2017.
A man who was very, very passionate about his job. We sat for maybe 2 hours, just as the Americans say, shooting the breeze, talking about fishing, and he went through from his very beginnings with his uncles to the time that he graduated from the Fisheries College in Greencastle, through his apprenticeship on boats in Killybegs, to the time that he bought his own boat.
Inland Fisheries Ireland is investigating a fish kill that has left 22 juvenile salmon and trout dead in the Owen Wee River in South Donegal. The discovery was confirmed to the Slieve League Angling Association, who described the incident as devastating. IFI staff found the dead fish during a survey last Tuesday spanning a 1 kilometre stretch of the river. 2 dead adult salmon were also located 2 kilometres downstream. Samples have been taken to investigate the presence of possible contaminants such as herbicides and pesticides. However, no discoloration or foul smell was detected from the stream. All 3 presidential candidates will come under the spotlight tonight as the first debate of the campaign gets underway. It will take place on The Tonight Show at 10 p.m. on Virgin Media 1. Louise Byrne, political correspondent with the Irish Examiner, says tonight's encounter will be the first test for the candidates.
I think it's been a bit lacklustre so far, and I think tonight this debate on Virgin Media will be the first real test for the candidates. I think what's been interesting so far is to date, none of them have really been going after the other one.
The parents of the late Harvey Morrison are meeting the Taoiseach and Health Minister today. Gillian and Stephen want a statutory inquiry into the mismanagement of spinal care for children. 9-year-old Harvey, who had spina bifida and scoliosis, died in July after waiting years for surgery, while Health Minister in 2017, Simon Harris, said no child would wait longer than 4 months for spinal surgery. The father and child found dead at a home in Dublin over the weekend have been named locally. The bodies of Christoph Dukowski and his daughter Julia Dukowska were discovered in Heathfield Terrace in Finglas on Saturday night. It's believed there was no third-party involvement in their deaths. Conor Gallagher, crime correspondent with the Irish Times, says they were found by the girl's mother.
On Saturday at around 8 o'clock or just before it, the mother came home from work, where she works in retail, and made this horrible discovery. She found the child in a bedroom and the father outside the bedroom, and she called emergency services, who came to the scene but were unable to revive either of the people.
Ireland is nothing short of an international laughingstock among iPass applicants. The claim's been made by the chairman of Independent Ireland, who says he's been given a cheat sheet that's been circulated among applicants on how to con the system. Deputy Ken O'Flynn says there seems to be an entire industry set up whose sole function is to train people to rip off the state and the Irish taxpayer in the process. He says he's written to Justice Minister Jim O'Callaghan demanding action.
We have to bring this out into the open, and we have to be straightforward and deal with it and tell it like it is. I think the government is covering up an awful lot, not just in this issue, but in several issues around the state. And it's unacceptable. And the wringing of hands and nodding of heads and saying, oh my God, we must learn from our mistakes. We don't seem to be learning at all from our mistakes in Ireland. We seem doomed to repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's wash and repeat continuously with this government.
Vapes can no longer be purchased from vending machines as of today. It's part of a broader government crackdown on the sale of vapes in an effort to prevent younger people from using the nicotine products. Minister of State at the Department of Health, Jennifer Murnane O'Connor, says the government aims to bring vaping in line with the existing tobacco regulations. Having a look now to the weather forecast. Today will be mainly cloudy with scattered rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees with a light to moderate southerly wind freshening in the west later. That's all for now from the newsroom. We'll be back with headlines at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices this Monday morning, September 29th. The death has taken place of George Hayes, Clonelly, Quigley's Point. George's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow at 10:20 for 11 a.m. funeral service in St Columba's Church Drung, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral service can be viewed live on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family time from 10 o'clock tonight. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member or Eamon McLaughlin, funeral director. The death has occurred of Michael Murphy, 30, Woodlawn, Stranorlar. Remains are reposing at McCool's funeral home, Ballybuffet, today from 4 p.m, concluding with rosary at 9 o'clock. Funeral leaving the funeral home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranorlar. Interment afterwards in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. The house is strictly private, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to Donegal Hospice at idonate.ie or care of any family member. The death has occurred of Brian Harkin, number 12, Binion Cottages, Clonmany. Brian's remains are reposing at the family home. Funeral from there this morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock with burial afterwards in the new cemetery. Family time, please, this morning. Brian's funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Conor McElhenney, 10 High Road, Sion Mills, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving there this morning at 10 to 12 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church, Sion Mills at 12:30. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, this morning. The death has occurred of Mary Lafferty, Navanny, Ballybuffet. House strictly private before the funeral, please, this morning. Family flowers only. Requiem Mass will take place at 12 noon today in St Mary's Church, Session Neil, followed by burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed at the St Mary's Church, Session Neil Facebook page. The death has taken place of Benny Rogers, Corky, Manor Cunningham. Funeral from his late residence is this morning at 10:15, going to All Saints Church, Newton Cunningham for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass. Interment afterwards in St Columba's Church, Cemetery, Dromahol. House strictly private, please, at the request of the deceased. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Oncology Ward, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Sister Kathleen Philomena Gallagher, daughter of Charity of St Vincent de Paul and late of Derry Reel, Falcarra. Funeral Mass this morning at St Catherine's, Black Rock at 10:30. Mass can be viewed on MCN. Reposing at her brother Frank's home in Derry Reel, Falcarra this evening from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. and tomorrow from 12 p.m. until 9 p.m. Rosary at 9 p.m. both nights, followed by burial at 11 a.m. Mass in St Finian's Church, Falcarra on Wednesday. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Elizabeth Betty Deary, Rosemount Court, Letterkenny. Funeral Mass today at 1 o'clock in the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyrain, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in the family plot in Conwall Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the parish YouTube channel. Family flowers only, please, with donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Con McDade Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Joe McNulty, Gortley Road, Letterkenny, formerly of Ardsmore, Gorta Hork. Funeral from the family home, Gortley, Letterkenny today, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyrain, Letterkenny for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on the parish YouTube channel, followed by interment in Conwall Cemetery. Family time, please, this morning before the funeral. Family flowers only, please. Donations, if wished, to the Irish Lung Fibrosis Association, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Nippy, fun and chic don't often describe insurance, but they perfectly fit the electric Fiat 500 you have the opportunity to win if you get a new car policy from On Post Insurance. For great cover at a great price and a shot at the Fiat 500, get a quote at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply and are available at onpostinsurance.ie/promotions. Competition ends December 31st, 2025. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as On Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of On Post.
The county's #1 talk show. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And it's Michaela Clark in this morning for Greg Hughes. Welcome back. We're into the second hour. I'm going to kick off with some requests. Happy birthday to Charlie Fullerton, who is 70 today in Buncrana. From all the family, please play Big Sam from from Northwest Alaska is a request there. Another listener says, can you please wish a very happy 12th birthday to Ella Clark from Mum, Dad and Na. A big shout out to Gweedore United under 12 girls after winning the Charity League Shield at Ballyar yesterday evening. They fought hard to finish a fantastic season as league winners and cup winners. Woohoo is the message on that one. And some of your comments are coming in as well. I live 2 to 3 miles from Kerrykeel National School and there is an SNA in the school and none of the children have a medical condition. This lady deserves better. Why can an SNA not be provided? That was in relation to our conversation with Lorna. Her daughter Alyssa has had to leave school because she has type 1 diabetes and she doesn't have access to an SNA. Now, in terms of Kerrykeel National School, you know, there could be a child that does have a medical condition, or maybe there's a requirement to have a particular number of SNAs at the school. I'm not sure about that, but this lady deserves better comment. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has a right to education and they should be provided with the support that is needed to allow them engage with the education system. Another listener says, does every child with type 1 diabetes throughout the country need an SNA? My cousin went to school back in the 70s with type 1 diabetes and never had an SNA. I think it depends maybe on, you know, as Lorna was saying, as her daughter Alyssa grows up, she'll be able to monitor the condition more herself. And, you know, maybe there's more awareness now too of different telltale signs and the implications of type 1 diabetes if action isn't taken immediately in relation to that. I read yesterday that people living in England, Poland and Romania are claiming children's allowance from the state to the tune of €104 million. Apparently they fly into Ireland with the child and make their claim and fly home again. They did not say, however, whether these were Irish people living and working in these countries or if others have spotted another loophole in our system. Another listener says, I thought that all new life jackets were installed with a beacon that sends alerts to the Coast Guard of where you're situated in the water. And we were talking about safety for fishermen at the start of the show. I'm not entirely sure in relation to that, but I do think there was talk, or maybe it is in place as well, about the GPS in it, or maybe that's always been the case, to help people locate somebody wearing a life jacket as well. Hi Michaela, I watched the NFL in Croke Park and must say there are things we could add to our All-Ireland final day from reviewing how the NFL shows off their national sport. I did see a lot of comments about this on social media as well. The screens in Croke Park, the way the Irish flag was rolled out from the pitch, the singers, the fireworks display, it looked very impressive overall, and I believe we could add a few of these to our All-Ireland final day. What's your view on this? It is obviously an American sport and everything's over the top, but it was nice to see. Do you think that elements could be replicated on All-Ireland final day, or it takes away from the national game as we know it? Get in touch by texting or WhatsApping 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. You can also email comments at highlandradio.com. Another listener says, please appeal to people to check if they are registered to vote. Today, the 29th of September, is the last day to register for a postal vote, and the 7th of October is the deadline to register to vote. Very important that people do use their right to vote. But we were talking about the presidential election. There doesn't seem to be as much of a hype about it, and maybe it's because here in Donegal we don't have a local running for office this time out, but I suppose maybe we've a while to go yet and things might heat up. There are 2 bike lanes to go on the high road. I'm on this road every morning and evening. This will turn Letterkenny into a disaster with traffic. We have 2 lanes to keep the traffic moving. We can't cope with 1 lane, this listener says. And there's a suggestion that immigrants will be given €10,000 to leave the country. This is a crazy idea altogether. Yeah, the Justice Minister has announced a new system is coming into place where people seeking international protection will be offered between, I think it was €2,500 and €10,000 to leave the country if they drop their international protection claim. I think that was actually coming into effect today. Greenways are not natural. 3 white-tailed eagles have been killed by industrial wind turbines in Donegal in the last year. Turbines in the wrong place. Donegal peat bogs. Why isn't the media covering that? This listener says. We were talking about, there was a story in the Irish Times this morning how Ireland's natural environment has been found to be in a very poor estate. And I had mentioned, we have greenways, we have mountains, we have beaches. Although greenways are man-made, but, they're in the middle of nature and people using them can be out in nature as well. Another listener says, Morning Greg, the housing estate is in Ireland. What's the issue with an Irish flag? It's nothing to do with religion. If Ireland were in a World Cup, we wish the place would be full of flags. So this is a conversation Greg was having on Friday. Another listener says, I had a problem with my teeth. I phoned my dentist only to be told I'm no longer registered, although I'm born in Ireland. I now have to sit in pain before I'm seen by a dentist. People will be destroying their votes, this listener says, because the government and opposition stopped this being a fair election. After seeing what has been going on with the candidates and the councils around the country, and Simon Harris dictating and then cries foul about threats, which I'm not sure about, and I'm not alone, there are a lot of people that will not be voting in the presidential election. Corruption again in this weak country, says this listener. Donegal County Council is a disgrace. Voted in by the people, could not come together and nominate Maria Steen. I will, as will many, be putting her name on the ballot paper. I know that there was some appetite for a process or the nomination, the council to hold a meeting to discuss nominees, but it didn't go ahead because obviously then there was, you needed agreement from all members. Another listener says the political parties are spoiling themselves with keeping the good candidates out of this presidential race. That's why I'm spoiling my vote to send an indirect message to them for their actions. Actions speak louder than words. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, September 29th. Playing on a green sheet. Reference number is S16. It's week 40. Today's numbers are 79, 71, 15, 85, 82, 45, 86, 67, 42 and 63. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
McGowan Hearing, one of the longest established audiologists in the Northwest, now have weekly clinics in Letterkenny, Buncrana and Curran. Book your free hearing aid consultation at one of these clinics or with audiologist Darren McGowan in your own home. Call 07191 00208 or visit mcgowanhearing.com.
County Donegal Blackface Sheep Breeders Association 68th Annual Show and Sale of Shearling Rams and Ram Lambs will take place in Ballbuffet and Stranraer Mart. Show on Friday 3rd of October at 2 p.m, with the sale on Saturday 4th at 12 noon.
We wish you a... It may be too early for Christmas carols, but it's never too early to start the Christmas shopping. Save hundreds, possibly thousands of euro shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual address mailbox service for all your Christmas parcels and post. Save on delivery and on customs tariffs this Christmas with Space Hub Derry. Open Monday to Saturday, collect at your convenience. Find us on Facebook and Google Space Hub Derry.
If you lose a partner, practical help can make a difference. The bereaved partner's contributory pension now includes qualified cohabitants. If your cohabiting partner died before July 21st, 2025, payments may be backdated to January 22nd, 2024, or their date of death, whichever is later, but you must apply on or before January 21st, 2026. To learn more, visit gov.ie/BPCP, a Government of Ireland initiative brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
Now, many people will have been in shops recently, and there's no doubt about it that every year it does get earlier and earlier where we see Christmas cards, Christmas decorations, Christmas promotions in place in shops and online. And I was of the belief for a long time that, we need to get Halloween over and then we can get into it. But, there's just no way around it now, and there's no way of avoiding it. I'm joined now by Mary T. Sweeney, representative of Intuit Donegal. Mary T., you believe that it's far too early?
Well, what I'm meeting is I'm meeting parents in the shops that are telling me that is putting enormous pressure on them as parents when the children are seeing. Of course, you don't want to interfere with the retailers trying to make their profit, which is the big time of the year for profit. But there has to be a balance where at the moment in this country, we see almost 300 families in arrears from their ESB bills, a cost of living crisis that has escalated over 20% since 2020. We need to start to realise that I think the government and the Chamber of Commerce could maybe work together better to try and have a deadline date or a key date to start the Christmas spending rush of putting out all the Christmas decorations and sweets and that, because it's putting unnecessary pressure and stress on many, many families who are already struggling. And I think more consideration should be given to that.
Do you think that it's more the multinationals that are doing this as opposed to local retailers?
I think it's the rise in the cost of living for everybody, the rise in business costs, the rise in especially the costs for the families that are really struggling. It's just after getting back to school. Traditionally, back to school is an expensive time of the year for everybody, for all families. And, the rise in ESB and fuel costs, it's just ridiculous what this government is doing to the families, that are struggling at the lower end. All families are struggling actually at the moment. That's the feedback I'm getting. And this additional pressure, when you go into the supermarkets, you see the loads of tins of sweets and all the Christmas decorations ready. As I say, there's a great idea in that the Christmas club where people can pay in without having to be faced. At least you have a stored, if it's a safe, you have to depend on the safety of the organisation that's running it, of course.
Yeah.
But at least then you have money set aside to allow for Christmas. But I don't think we're doing enough to support the families that are under pressure at the moment. And it's not helping seeing all these supplies out. And as you say, Halloween's not even over.
And I suppose it's that pressure. Everybody knows Christmas is coming. And I have to admit that I have started my Christmas shop and I'm never that organised. But I see it as a way of, I don't have children, so I don't have, that pressure of, all these decorations and things like that the children love. But it spreads the cost out for me that I'm not rushing in December, the final weeks. But for parents that, as you discussed, the cost of living there, it is the pressure, and seeing that Christmas so early in the year, they're living with that pressure right up until the big day.
Exactly. And as I say, it's particularly I would feel the people that I'm meeting, it's those with the younger children, the younger families at this moment in time. Of course, the adults, it's a different scenario altogether. They can deal with it. But we have to give more consideration. And I think that it would be lovely that if we, even as a county, as a town, could come together and say, no, this is going to be the date that we make agreement on, big active launch of Christmas in our community, and support the business and the families and relieve them from that stress for those with young children.
We need an embargo on Christmas, is what you're saying.
Basically, and we need things like the ESB costs to be reduced and things like that, which would help as well, because it's just ridiculous what we're looking at the moment. We're basically one of the highest in Europe. You've countries like Hungary paying 10 cents per kilowatt, and we're up at something like 32 cents plus VAT, which is crazy money. And yet the ESB is making millions, over 800 million in 23.
And the way it works out too, then bills always seem to land right in the mouth of Christmas as well as added pressure.
Of course. I was in one of the cafes in town during the week, and a gentleman from outside of the town stopped me to say that he got word that he didn't get his word about getting his allowance for the winter fuel this year. And he was extremely worried, and he seemed a vulnerable adult. And, this is the reality for people. A gentleman I didn't know, but he obviously knew me. And it is really a concerning time for people coming into the winter months. And even for depression and just the dark nights drawing in, it can be a very dark time for a lot of people. And I think we need to do more to be aware of that and to get more support into the homes and into the families and into the communities.
And whatever about Christmas starting and appearing too early in shops, do you think Christmas has gotten more expensive? A lot of people seem under a lot of pressure to spend X, Y, and Z on people.
Peer group in the schools is horrendous. Always has been, and it continues to be. And this is where the schools could reinforce, that, in my day, I'm fortunate, if you want to call it that, that my kids are past that stage of the school pressure. But it used to be the PlayStations and the Xboxes, which are horrendously dear to
Yeah.
buy. And then the reality is that every so many years there was a new edition, a new version being brought out.
More expensive, new version. Yep.
Then the games didn't meet, they didn't coexist with each other. So
Yeah.
everything had to be new again. So this is the sort of marketing that our government could do more on in relation to legislation, the way there is the now in relation to charges for different instruments. You can get the USB as a standard charging point. Things like that are good moves that the government can reinforce, or the electrical companies can come together. Even the simple things like making a standard charging device,
Yeah.
But for these games to be all, autonomous and their own varieties, it made huge pressures on families and Christmas. And, the fact that then when the new model came out, the games didn't work. This is crazy stuff. I think the government should be stepping in there and saying, no, wait a minute here. You have the facilities to make them intercompatible, and they should be made compatible.
And what would you see, Mary T, as the, I suppose, optimum date to roll out Christmas campaigns?
Well, I would have thought that we'd need Halloween over.
Yeah.
That's the very least of it should be, that Halloween should be over. And as I say, that there's more encouragement for families, to remind them to set something aside in the credit union, in their bank account, in whatever they can do. Of course, no problem to do that, but to be faced with this tirage of sweets and Christmas, selection boxes, it means that the parents are being put under undue pressure to spend money at a time that the whole message of Christmas has been lost. And it should be a time to keep the message of Christmas there and to keep the excitement and the anticipation. And it makes it very difficult when one child at school said, I got 2 of the selection boxes this week. And that's maybe costing £10 to a parent that can't afford, So there should be more expectation to keep the Christmas season for Christmas, and there's much more excitement with that then.
Yeah. And I suppose that kind of filters through to, as well, people putting up their decorations. I'm very much, mine goes up, the first, second week of December. But people, would put it up as soon as Halloween ends. And that in itself is pressure, particularly if someone has a child, they see another house in the street that has the decorations, and they're not cheap either.
They're not cheap, and there's more cost on the ESB as well if you have a lot of decorations out there. So as I say, that maybe it depends on just the amount of access to funds that parents have. But I think we need to be that wee bit conscious of the fact that not everybody has the same, access to spending, and that some parents are finding it very tough, especially this year with the increase over 300,000 across the country in arrears of their ESB. And many of them will be people with young families.
Yeah. Mary T. Sweeney, thank you so much for joining me there. I suppose it's a conversation that a lot of people do have this time of year. And yeah, I was in a shop last week and they were putting out the Christmas cards. And I know it's not in the same vein as somebody buying Christmas presents, but I had I always struggled to get like a goddaughter or godmother card, and I seen them putting them out, and I thought to myself, I better get them right now because they're going to be sold out whenever I need them. And I know that's a very minimal cost compared to what Mary T was talking about there in terms of presents, but it's the same kind of pressure that we feel we need to purchase there and then. If anybody has a view on that, get in touch. You can give us a call on 086 60 25,000. Call us here on 074 91 25,000 or email comments@highlandradio.com.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome from the Tyrone Monaghan area, the brilliant One for the Road. And from Burton Port area, we welcome back the folks from the Ross's Pop Choir. Our good friends from the Grove Theatre in Derry are bringing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang to the Millennium Forum from the 18th of October. And we'll be catching up with some of the cast and the production team. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. As always, right here on Highland Radio.
Here, would you look at Eco Enda? He's only after going and getting himself one of the new Skoda EVs.
First he went vegan, then he got solar panels, now this.
I'm sure he'd buy anything as long as he can get a grand for it.
Must be from that county beside Monaghan.
The new fully electric Skoda range. The kind of cars that get the neighbours talking. But only if you're quick. Check availability at skoda.ie. Skoda, let's explore.
Skoda.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clar Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721396.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure Main Street Letterkenny. Just launched at BMC Sports is the new ASICS GT 2014. Offers pure gel technology and FF foam for that springy feel. New range of Kayano, Nimbus and Nova Blast for men and women. In-store and online. Get your safe size experience at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street Letterkenny. Or click on bmcsports.ie. Get your ASICS delivered free of charge. Christmas Club now open.
It's Patrick Feeney here, and I'm looking forward to the Highland Radio Country Music Weekend at the Clanry Hotel in Letterkenny this October the 31st and November the 1st. I'll be on stage along with Michael English, David James, Stacey Breen and Jordan McFadden. It's going to be 2 fantastic nights of music and dancing, but spaces are filling fast, so book now at theclanryhotel.com or highlandradio.com.
Hi, welcome back to the show. I'm joined now in studio by Shan McSivna, who is a principal of College Alley in Letterkenny. Good morning to you.
Morning, Michaela. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So we're talking today in relation to the number of post-primary students seeking exemptions. So 60,946 had received exemptions from studying Irish for the 2024-25 school year. That's quite a high number. That's quite a high volume. Is it something that you would have been expecting?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, there's a few things that skew the figures there, really, in terms of exemptions to Irish language. I mean, I'm currently in an Irish medium school in College Alley, so it's not a thing for us students decide to come to the school and they complete their education through the medium of Irish. But, I mean, it's obviously English medium schools students often seek them. There's lots of reasons for it, and I mean a lot of them can be very complicated. And in terms of that documentary that was made, it presented both sides of the situation.
TG Cahir documentary,
Cahir documentary, and then the article in the journal.ie. I mean, from our point of view, I think I would surmise by saying it's disappointing, but it's important to draw attention to the figure and to see what we're going to do to change it. So focus on the positives rather than who's responsible for this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, the big skewed factor really was obviously a situation was just a lot of students coming into schools from Ukraine, and that skewed things a lot. But really, rather than us,
do you think that would be the majority of people seeking exemptions?
And not a lot. I mean, I don't know the percentage breakdown between the students coming from other countries or students that have learning needs that they feel that they're unable to complete this subject the medium of Irish. But for every student that you hear about has actually sought an exemption, there's a student in the same category that has decided that they want to complete the subject. You know, so be it the situation is often referred to as students with dyslexia, but for every student that decides to get an exemption because of dyslexia, we have lots of students who decide to continue with it.
And that's actually very positive, because I kind of felt that there was a cultural shift towards people learning Irish, and then whenever the figures came out, I kind of thought maybe I was wrong, but that's good to know. You know, there's still, you know, the interest in it.
Oh, there's huge interest. I think a big turning point for me personally was in 2016, you know, when we celebrated the foundation of the state, and there was a real good feeling with the Irish language and our culture. And I think rather than just focusing on the negatives, as that the number, which is a little bit skewed because of the current geopolitical context of things, it's hard to really get an accurate handle on that. But really just asking the questions of not focusing on the rules, even though they're important as to why students get exemptions, but really to focus on why students don't want to complete to complete the Irish language as a subject, you know. And I mean, from our point of view in College Shally, we want more students to do their education on the whole through the medium of Irish and encourage the advantages of that, because Irish doesn't become a thing. I mean, when I reflect on this, we're dealing with this every day. We're trying to encourage students to come to our school and complete their education in the medium of Irish. The big thing is we have a strange relationship as a country with the Irish language and with our culture. I mean, it's a bit like the leaving certificate. When people start to think about their leaving certificate, even the beads of sweat come down their head, and people still have nightmares about their leaving certificate, maybe missing an exam. And it's a wee bit like that with Irish. I meet a lot of friends, I meet people out in the public. When I'm speaking with them, they nearly have a look of shock on their face. They're almost afraid, oh, is he going to start speaking Irish to me? Am I going to be examined on this now? You know, whereas, you know, Baha Changa Ia Lorch, the life of a language is in speaking it. And I think we need to flip things a wee bit on its head and just encourage more people to speak the Irish language and be kind of come at it from a positive angle with this, and ask that question why people don't want to complete it. I mean, it was highlighted in that programme, the whole area of exemptions and parents seeking exemptions for kids.
Do you think maybe parents... I kind of see it as there's a generation there of maybe parents that aren't familiar with the Irish language. Do you think that's filtered down then? They feel that they wouldn't maybe be able to help with homeworks or things like that, support their children?
Yeah, Michaela, that's something that's always raised, and parents would have that question coming to us. So let's say specifically Irish medium education, the likes of College Shally, there where parents come in. Like, what's important to understand is the spoken language at home can still be Irish. We would have non-national students who would have come to our school, and English might not even be their spoken language at home. But once they can communicate, they can speak to what difficulties they have, and then the student can explain what difficulty they have, and then they can discuss that. So it doesn't become a thing. Like communication really doesn't really matter what language it's in. And I suppose the problem I have sometimes with our Irish languages can be too much focus on the written aspect of the subject. And it's important to say at that point that the level of work that's been done in the standard of education in County Donegal is through the roof. We've tons and tons of teachers doing fantastic work with Irish language, but sometimes they're hampered with the system as is and how the subject that they have to teach. So that needs to be tweaked in terms of what the pressures what pressures are under teachers, or what the pressures that are under teachers to
and
deliver.
They have to meet certain grades.
Yes.
Because I went through the education system in the north, and I did my GCSE in Irish, but I couldn't hold a conversation now in Irish. But it was very much, you know, you were learning for the exam, you were learning the grammar of the language, as opposed to, you know, that being able to carry me through life. Like, there was nothing wrong with the way it was taught. You know, I got my grades and stuff, but I regret now that I couldn't talk to you in Irish.
Well, you think that, Michaela, that's the thing. I mean, what I think there's a collective responsibility on us all as a country. I mean, there's an expression we use in education a lot, and we say culture eats strategy for breakfast. Okay. And there's an awful lot of strategy out there in terms of what we're doing with Irish language. But I think there's something that's ingrained in us in terms of the culture and the relationship with the Irish language. If you think back over the last 100 years, like even in 1925, the percentage native speakers has decreased continually. Whereas we need to try to address that as a people and become more comfortable with speaking Irish language, warts and all. So like yourself, Michaela, you know, if you actually make the effort to, you know, and push yourself that little bit to speak the subject. And people, like, if you speak Irish to anybody, if you start speaking Irish to me now, I'd be more than happy to speak Irish to you. And I make plenty of mistakes myself. I mean, I'm not an Irish teacher.
It'll be a very short interview then.
Not at all, Michaela. I'm confident you would give it a good rattle.
No.
But so it's about us maybe changing our approach and our gra for the language and instilling that gra in people. I mean, there's been so many changes through the years, or even over the last 30 or 40 years in terms of the Irish language and the Irish education system. And sometimes we have our own experiences in the Irish language in particular, with education, but with Irish language in particular, that we project onto others. And rather than, one of the things that we focus on whenever we have new sets of parents coming into us, bringing their students into our school, is we have an information session with new parents, and we try to put across them the changes, how different education is now to when they were in school themselves. Because sometimes there's that nervousness and that trepidation on behalf of parents, and in terms of education full stop, and in the Irish language is another level of that, So, I mean, it's very manageable as a subject, but it needs to be changed, I feel, as well.
And what kind of changes would you think would need to be implemented?
Yeah, would you, say, for example, you mentioned the GCSE Irish. I mean, it's an option there. You had the Irish in the north, and then you had Gaeilge, which was a deeper version of that. I mean, that's something that needs to be investigated. I think the focus, while there's a lot of changes, I mean, the level of change that's happening, if I just kind of go on a segue slightly at the minute, the level of change that's happened in the Irish education system is off the charts. There were a number of years there where our sole focus for change, more or less, was on the new junior cycle. And that was the only game in town, and then we focused on that. But the difficulty we have at the minute now is just to even give you a rundown. We've got a new leaving certificate. We've got the new leaving certificate. We've education plans that we're working on, the senior cycle review, the admissions process, there's new book scheme. We've the issues with the mobile phones that are mentioned, the special education needs, and we've got the Irish education policy, and you've Kinnelton anti-bullying. So all these things are being foisted upon schools, and it makes it very difficult to reflect on even one of the changes and try and make those changes in a very real and meaningful way. So, I mean, we don't have time as a school, unfortunately, to reflect on where we're at in even one of those changes. Like, I would love to have more time as a leader in education, a leader in our school, to spend a little bit more time focusing on the Irish and how we can actually instill that grand in the kids. And principals all over the county don't have time to focus on that, unfortunately. So it's just about changing the culture a little bit and changing the way the subject or the curriculum really. It's not the way the subject is taught. The teachers are hampered a lot. They're doing fantastic work, but they're hampered by the pressures of all those other changes, and then trying to instill this grand language. Now,
and I suppose it's like what I was talking about there, learning for it. We were obviously taught based on the curriculum, but, as you were indicating there, it's about having that language then for the rest of your life. And I suppose your school is a bit different as opposed to just teaching a standalone Irish, for me, GCSE, that, the language is talked every day throughout the day. It's
very much a living, breathing language in the school, and it's not a thing, for want of a way of better articulating it better, it's not a thing that, they go in and then they turn on the switch and they start speaking Irish. It's just this is living and breathing around the school. Everything we do is through the medium of Irish. We speak with our kids in the interactions in the morning and in the evening time. How's your weekend? Everything, all those things happen. And I mean, for me, as a principal in Irish medium school in College, this is the way to go. But I mean, that's not feasible. That's a jump too far for us,
It's not the reality.
It's not the reality. But it came and you came. It's actually step by step changing the culture. I mean, we could spend the morning, Miss Michaela, and I would love to spend the morning with you on it, but I mean, it's very complicated, but I think it's a cultural attitude that we have to the Irish language that needs to change. And asking the question is not necessarily looking at the bottom line figure of the amount that are getting exemptions, is why do they want exemptions? And there's some very real and very, very tough situations there for people who are trying to learn the Irish language, and they really struggle with that. But what is the motivation to want to, in addition to those people that fall into that category who have difficulties and it's a bridge too far for them, they struggle with the English language. But it's outside of that there. Why do people want to? We should have people,
the proper resources need to be, so that everybody can learn.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Michaela. I mean, the reality is on a European level, we're we punch way above our weight in terms of the level of funding, that the national funding that's spent on education, full stop. But we punch way above our weight in terms of the PISA, which are the assessments for education. So we punch way above our weight with that there in mind. So more money needs to be focused on education. And then if you compare to If you compare it to other countries, like the Wales is always a really good example of what they're doing with the Irish language, or what they're doing with their own language.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a very ambitious plan. Like they currently have 23% native speakers, and we're languishing down at 6%. So that
huge difference.
23%, and they have a plan before 2040 to get that up to 40%. So, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening in Ireland with the Irish language. I think there's a lot of good feeling.
And there's so much awareness now, and there's so many of the younger generations, speaking Irish, and I think it's amazing that you nearly feel embarrassed yourself that you can't engage with them.
And that's,
I don't know if that's a good thing.
And that's the thing. And I think, it's about Molyneux encouraging the youth, and then us as adults, encouraging them as much as possible, and to make the mistakes and speak the language and be really proud of them.
Yeah.
You're proud of speaking the language, warts and all, like yourself, Michaela, just focusing on trying to get back into it. I mean, my own personal journey was I did my education through the medium of Irish and Scoil Nash to Devlin Ria, and then I proceeded to English medium education and post-primary. And it took a lot of years for me to get back around to Irish medium education. But the thing about it is I, like an awful lot of Irish people, have this relationship with Irish where I thought, I'd love to get back into Irish, love to get back into Irish. But the problem is that, you never put enough pressure. Life is busy, and you never put that pressure on yourself to get it. And then I had the opportunity.
It's a commitment to go to classes or whatever.
But really what needs to happen is if you were like Joe McHugh, whenever he got his job, he said, if you open your eyes to the Irish language and you look around, so instead when you look at all the signage, instead of reading the English, just automatically read the Irish version of the sign above.
But it's funny because if we're travelling through Donegal, I would say to my husband, that's whatever. Like, I can tell the place names, things like that. Yeah. But I've talked about it here before. My granny was from Lunya in Derrybeg, so she was a native Irish speaker. And then I went to the Knee School in our town. But like, I went to the English speaking primary school then and kind of lost it.
Yeah.
And then only picked it up again at GCSE, but it's something that I would love to have, I suppose, maybe because my granny was a native Irish speaker, and I grew up with her speaking to her family, and it was lovely. I wouldn't be able to figure out what they were saying, but it is lovely hearing people speak it.
Yeah, and I mean, the richness in our Log Anyamnaha, our place names, is unbelievable when people look into it. And there's a lovely website, loganyam.ie, and you go into that and you find the meaning of the place names and describes that what it actually means.
Yeah.
So I mean, the place names in English don't mean anything.
Yeah.
Whereas whenever you actually get delved down into the meaning of Irish, so even if everybody who's listened to your show today read and found out about their own place name and actually looked at the signage for their own area and started even, and even starting dropping those wee things in, we would change that culture in the background, and hopefully there'd be less wee beads of sweat running down people's head.
It wouldn't be as daunting then for people to take up the Irish language at school.
Exactly.
Which is the aim.
I mean, there's very real and people who are in very challenging situations, and to learn the Irish language is a step too far, at that point in time. But we probably need to support those people in coming back to the Irish language. If you compare it to other European countries, as I said, we've a strange cultural relationship with it. But if you go to Spain, if you go to France, it's not a thing. They speak their language. And I guarantee you, if you went to Spain or France and you were just parachuted in there to that country for 6 months, you would have a good old grasp of the language after 3 or 6 months. Whereas, we sort of struggle with it, and it's about creating and instilling that pride in people.
Do you think, Sean, that there is enough for people that have additional learning needs? Is there enough for them for learning the Irish language?
Yeah. The learning needs are so complex. And I mean, coming on the show, I was very mindful of, making sure I'm not coming across as an expert in terms of education psychology or an occupational therapist. So it's hard to speak to that because the situations are so complex, and there are an awful lot of students that are really struggle with education through their native language, which is through English, for a lot of people. But I mean, we always need more resources, and again, overall the spending is too low. So it's a kind of a default position. But I mean, as Irish, we tend to always look for more from that point of view, but it's a very real concern. And I think we need to compare ourselves more to European context and the percentage that we are spending on education is way, way below. But the work that's been done in the schools is off the charts. We punch way, way above our weight, as I said, more in the primary schools and the post-primary schools. I mean, again, from my point of view, we have huge. There's a misconception out there in the likes of College Charlie. Oh, that's very academic school. The students, and our results this year were off the charts.
Yeah.
Good. But our students, it comes across that it's a very academic school. That's a misconception. We have lots of students with additional needs, but we put lots of support structures in them and help them through that.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have. We have a Kunter Changa, so a support person in the Irish language for a few hours a week, and then just recently we got allocated additional hours to support the Irish language. So that's an extra person going into the classrooms and supporting the kids. So I mean, we would always have a number of students that would have come from English medium primary schools and join us. And the first little while is challenging, but after a while, you'd be so proud of them then when at the end of first year and they're chatting away and they're conversing, because there's huge advantages in the full immersion model and of education. Massive advantages. And I suppose if I can give a wee plug there, Michaela, because I know you're probably looking to finish up. We have our open day and open evening on the 8th of October, and then we're also visiting primary schools tomorrow and on Thursday. And myself and my deputy principal, or our deputy principal, Aoife Nash, have a meeting in Scullineve region, Downings, with parents at 3:00, and then we're meeting meeting in Scullinash in the Devlin Rea at 4:15, and then we're going over to Scullin-Cashel in Fanet at 7. So I mean, one of our aims is to try and encourage as many students to go and do their education through the medium of Irish, and that includes some students if they want to come from English medium post-primary.
And I think that's an important message that you give out earlier, that it doesn't need to be daunting, that you will pick it up. But that is very important for people, I think, to realise.
The most important thing is, I mean, our facilities are second to none, Michaela, and people come in and think, this building is amazing. I mean, but for me, the strength is the people and the community and the school, and the work that our teachers and the staff do in the school is unbelievable. So, I mean, it's important that people don't just look at the lovely pitch and the lovely facilities and then decide, I want to go to that school. It's about being positively positioned to the Irish language. And even if parents have been away from Irish for a long time, come back to it, and don't be too worried about how they're going to get on. Once you're supportive and you're positive with the Irish language, you're more than welcome, And I mean, for me, it's a win every time we've another student who has completed their education to the medium of Irish. And it's not about having 2,000 students, it's about having the more people that we can have that complete their education to the medium of Irish, the better. And I mean, in terms of going back to the original question, in terms of the exemptions, I mean, the number is disappointing, but I think we need to look harder at ourselves and, the cultural side of it, is how we feel in our relationship with the Irish language.
Yeah,
I mean,
delve further into that.
The rules, I mean, the rule changed in 2019 and the principal signs off on the exemptions, but not without a discussion and meetings and feedback.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think principals have a role to play in offering different, initiatives that could help?
Yeah, I mean, to a point, but I feel like we got thrown under the bus a wee bit from that point of view in terms of being passed a hospital pass, as they would say, in football. The 2019, we had the overall decision to make on that. Now, an awful lot of principals, we still look for the evidence, or we have to look for evidence, put a package together and review that. But I mean, it's the time that's needed to do that. Yeah. And the unavailability of time is the problem. With all the education changes that I mentioned there, we're at an unprecedented stage of educational change. And the problem there is that when so much is coming in, so much change is happening, things go in under the radar, and there's a lot that's happening in the Irish language that we need to be a little bit more careful on. And that rule in 2019 was one of them. And now we're seeing the figures showing that. So again, they're disappointing, but we need to look harder at the cultural side of it. Like this, as I said earlier, Baha Changa E a Lorch. So, the life of a language is in speaking it. But the problem is that some of the changes that are happening in our education system, there are, particularly in our junior cycle, they're removing the need and the focus on the Irish language. So there's classroom-based assessments at junior cycle, and that would be the focus for, that would be a spoken language there in that particular aspect. But again, it's not meaty enough in terms of reward for the spoken language, and then as a result, the teachers don't have enough time to focus on. It's moving in the
right direction, but kind of needs to be
more meaty. I mean, we had a big win as a group of post-primary post-primary principals through the Medium of Irish. So there's 16 schools in Donegal ETB, and we're one of 6 that provide education to the Medium of Irish. So as a group of principals, we were very concerned about the new leaving certificate and the bonus marks that are available to the Medium of Irish. And luckily, what happened was, because with the new junior cert, or new leaving certificate, as you're aware, the pressure is on the final day exams, the terminal exams. So that's changed, and now there'll be 40% coursework. The subjects are coming in over the next 4 years, and we were concerned that the bonus marks would not be available to the new subjects, 40%. But thankfully, just to make sure that's clear to people, the bonus marks are available for the coursework as well. Now, it's still under debate. It's the level in which it happens, because and again, the problem is the way it's a way the department and the state exams value the spoken word is part of the difficulty, because the danger at the minute is that they are saying the subjects that have less written work will not get the full 10%. So they might get 5% or 7.5%. But what we're saying is that if we're doing our education, which we are in College Shally, every subject through the Medium of Irish, it's not like when your woodwork teacher or your graphics teacher is working on the project that they sort of stop speaking Irish. As you can appreciate, all our business is conducted through the Medium of Irish. So it's important that the weight is included. And part of the issue there as well comes back to culture and our attitudes towards the Irish language. It should be automatic. The Irish Language Act came in 2003, and it was improved upon and strengthened in 2021. But again, we still have to, dare I say it, fight a little bit more for the rights of language, unfortunately.
That attitude needs to change.
It needs to be automatic.
Sean McSivna, Principal of College Shally, thank you so much for calling in today. It was a great conversation. We'll be back again in a couple of minutes.
At Dunnes Stores, you can save more with your 10 off 50 or 5 off 25 vouchers. So if you dream of granola topped with fruit and yoghurt, your dreams can become reality, and you'll have saved on the things you love. Or if you like the sound of the word sandwich, and we're talking grilled chicken, tomato, lettuce, and yes, a fried egg, you can save on each of the ingredients. Save more with your vouchers, in-store, online, or click and collect. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Vouching will be used on next grocery shop.
Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry stock clearance sale. Save big on vanity units, taps, mirrors, radiators and more. Enjoy up to 40% off My Life and as much as 60% off Crosswater. Starts Monday 29th of September, 9 a.m. and Saturday 4th of October, 1 p.m. Don't miss these massive savings at Ocean Tiles and Bathrooms Pennyburn Derry.
At FBD, we've contributed over €400,000 in advertising support to businesses across Ireland since 2024. And in 2026, 15 more lucky businesses will receive €25,000 worth of advertising each to fuel their business dreams. So whether it's a fully booked month, opening a second store, or growing your team, you can apply at fbd.ie/dreams. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Competition T's and C's apply. FBD Insurance PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hey, look what Mum got at the supermarket.
I can't cook that. It's fish.
It's easy, Dad. Hake is handy in the pan. Trout is perfect in a tray bake. Even mussels are ready in minutes.
But timing, the temperature, it's frightening. It's fish.
Shh. Give it a go. It's healthy and tasty too.
Don't be scared of seafood. Pick up some today for a dinner that's
surprisingly easy to cook.
Find meal inspiration at boardbia.ie.
Agus inis seocha go bhréomhásnéis na Hampshire. Is léir go bhfuil go leor gaotha agus neart gréine in anduin, agus léonta geala go gan tamil fada gealta d'éireann.
In Airgrid, támadigh tuair tauchaí in bhuanathe le fuinneamh bhuanathe.
Tá uasrád ó dhéanamh agan ar an angach leictreachis ónas gur féidir le gach teilech, gnó agus pobl tarifa a bhaint eistí. Tá éire á cuachtú agan. Fólam níos mó ag airgrid.ie.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, any mist and fog will clear later this morning. Today will be mainly cloudy with scattered rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees. The headlines are coming up just a little later in a couple of minutes.
Here in Ireland, we're doing well when it comes to our recycling and food waste bins. However, some paper, plastics and food are still ending up in our general waste bins. It can happen. So take a minute before you bin it and go to mywaste.ie for help and suggestions on how to make segregating your waste that bit easier. That's mywaste.ie. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Imagine if you could test drive everything in life. Marriage, new jobs, even your in-laws. Well, at least with your next car you can. At iMotors, we've been helping Donegal families for over 50 years find quality used cars they can trust. All 100% checked and come with a warranty. Take one for a spin today. Visit us in Letterkenny, Malin Village or at imotors.ie.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Discover the Address Sligo, your stylish escape on the Wild Atlantic Way. Savour local flavours at North Restaurant. Relax in our indulgent spa and thermal suite. And enjoy breaks from just €160 per night. Book direct at theaddresssligo.com.
The Address is always the right address.
Cooney's Home Interior's biggest ever floor clearance sale is now on, with huge savings across all departments, sofas, dining, bedroom. Stock must go to make way for Cooney's largest ever Christmas shop. Sofa sets from $12.99, complete bed from $4.99, table and chairs from $6.99. Thousands of euros to be saved. But hurry, only while stocks last. Cooney's Home Interiors Letterkenny Retail Park open 7 days.
My apologies for my lateness. It's time now for the latest news headlines with Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Michaela. Good morning. Tributes have been paid to Kevin McCloskey, the fisherman who was found dead after a search that spanned the course of 3 days. His remains were located by a local fishing vessel off the Donegal course near Teelan on Saturday evening. The alarm had initially been raised on Thursday. Oliver McBride, editor of the Fishing Daily, said Kevin was passionate and dedicated to his work on this morning's 9 till noon show. Inland Fisheries Ireland is investigating a fish kill that's left 22 juvenile salmon and trout dead in the Owen Wee River in South Donegal. The discovery was confirmed to the Slieve League Angling Association, who described the incident as devastating. IFI staff found the dead fish during a survey last Tuesday, spanning 1 kilometre stretch of the river. 2 dead adult salmon were also located 2 kilometres downstream. Samples have been taken to investigate the presence of possible contaminants. The parents of the late Harvey Morrison are meeting the Taoiseach and Health Minister today. Gillian and Stephen want a statutory inquiry into the mismanagement of spinal care for children. 9-year-old Harvey, who had spina bifida and scoliosis, died in July after waiting years for surgery. While Health Minister in 2017, Simon Harris said no child would wait longer than 4 months for the required operations. The Dunloe Wind Turbine Action Group is hosting a community meeting this Friday evening following a planning application for the erection of 5 new wind turbines. The Irish Premium Renewable Energy Limited Company submitted the application to Donegal County Council last week for the project, which would be spread over across 90 hectares of land at Crossnashallogue. The Action Group is calling on the council to stop blowing away nature's beauty. The meeting will get underway at 7 p.m. in the Enid Chimple Curran. And finally, repairs to a burst water main may cause supply disruptions to Dumfries and the surrounding areas this morning. Works are scheduled to take place until 2:30 this afternoon. Ishka Aaron says it may take up to 4 hours after this time for supplies to fully return. That's all for now from the newsroom. Back with more at 12 noon.
Fancy fish tacos tonight? You'll catch some amazing prices at Aldi, that's for sure.
The finest Irish breaded haddock goujons are just $2.99. Sour cream at just 89¢. Mixed chilies only 49¢. And 8 mini white tortilla wraps are just 85¢. That's an evening treat at amazing Aldi value, all wrapped up. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
It is Monday, which means it's time for the DL Debate chat, and I'm joined now by Brendan Devaney, presenter of the DL Debate. Good morning, Brendan.
Good morning, Michaela.
You haven't joined us this morning in studio.
No, do you know what, Michaela? I do a bit of a day job sometimes as well.
Right,
so,
you do, right?
Aye, surprises a lot of people. People think I'm full time at Highland. I'm like, no, I leave that to professionals.
Don't know about that. Anyway, Brendan, a huge weekend in terms of club action here in Donegal.
Yeah, massive again. You know, we've had a brilliant club championship. Of course, it's been, I suppose, pushed on as well, Michaela, by the new rules. Teams having to go out and play a bit more attacking elements to the game and a bit more exciting. And of course, you know, the two semi-finals were great showing, and Gweedore and Naomh Conaill coming through. Two kind of different games, you know, I suppose, from a Gweedore perspective. They went 5 down at one stage at the start of the first, say, 25 minutes in that match. Michael's playing me a bit of a breeze, but there's a real well-coached team ethic with Gweedore. You know, they don't rely on any one or two players. It's a real team effort, and they showed a lot of control in the second half. And in the final quarter, they outscored Michael 6 points to 1. And there's a few goal opportunities in there for St. Michael's, but I think the better team won. And then yesterday we had another epic at the park, going to extra time. This new coming Four Masters team showing a lot of ability, a lot of class, but the old war dog that is Naomh Conaill in the end coming through. And again, you know, when it went into extra time, Four Masters going 3 up, you thought it was their game at that point, you know, because people get tired. There's less scoring generally in extra time, but Kevin McGettigan goals not only swung the scoreboard, but the momentum, and Naomh Conaill seized it, and they're into yet another final. And I would say from all the football I've seen, Gweedore certainly for me probably the best team this season, Michaela, but certainly the experience and the ability, and I suppose some of the new players coming in to Naomh Conaill make them a real danger. Very, very hard final to call.
Funny, there was somebody yesterday had made the comment of how strong football in the Gweedore area is. They said they were at the match, I think, and they says the turnout, and it just seems to be the appetite for it in the area. But I suppose that's right across Donegal with these clubs.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to figure that out with tradition. You know, if you're saying there's different, I suppose, population bases don't tend to get what other areas do. And you're right, tradition is something, but I suppose for the likes of Naomh Conaill, they didn't win their first championship since till 2005. But they've really built something now where I suppose everybody in the area wants to play for the football team. Right across the board, you know, whether it be underage, ladies, you know, whatever. So that is a big effect then on getting people, I suppose, everyone buyed in. You tend not to lose other players to different sports and different things like that. And even though soccer would be very strong in Gweedore, there has always been a huge history of GA there. And the amazing thing, I suppose, for them, Michaela, is there's quite a few kind of injured Gweedore players and players that are travelling, that they've gone away from them, and a lot of them are real top class. There's 3 or 4 that even be in the county squad. So I was talking it through with a Gweedore player last night. There's probably 7 players there that are away, and if they were back, that we would all be in trouble. So that makes, I suppose, the job that Ronan McNeilis has done even more. And I suppose 3 years ago they met each other in the final, and it was complete one-way traffic. Gweedore probably were surprised to be there, and listen, they were no match at all for Naomh Conaill. So a lot has changed in those 3 years, Michaela, because Gweedore certainly beginning there, maybe slight favourites in some people's minds, because Naomh Conaill probably haven't played their best this season, but they've managed to win when they needed to.
Yeah. So no doubt you'll be talking about this later on the show. Who is joining you this week, Brendan?
Yeah, in studio, Pádraig Hilferty, our own Pádraig Hilferty, Brendan Kilcoyne, who've been all over the club championship this year. So great having the two of them up. We'll be very cosy this evening up there. I love having people in studio, Michaela, as you know.
Makes a difference.
Nice to see the whites of the eyes, so I know if they're telling me the truth or not. But yeah, Miguel, they're coming up to the studio, and we're going to wrap up. We're going to talk a wee bit. It goes intermediate finals coming up next week. We have the junior final pairing of Curran, who beat in last year's final, playing Letterkenny Gales, who come through an epic semi-final with Niamh Breed. And as well as that, Michaela, I've been looking to get time this last few weeks. I know you're a Tyrone woman. I mean, Tyrone listeners and Derry listeners. I didn't want to leave them out, but there's been so much happening in the club championship right across the board. So Michael McMullen's actually going to come in as well. And the semi-finals in Gordor, Ergo Kieran versus Trillick, last year's final. Loch McCorry are playing Carrickmore, another one. And then Glen Mahara, who are managed by Rory Kavanagh, of course, they're playing Mahara Felt and Slough Neil Newbridge. So massive games, Derry and Tyrone coming up as well.
And it's such a busy time. You know, there's numerous games on every week. It is, I suppose, hard to keep on top of it all.
Yeah, well, I do you know, Michael McMullen was supposed to come on, Michaela, between me and you and anybody's listening. There'd be a few.
The thousands listening.
The thousands, yeah. But he was supposed to come on the last few weeks, Michaela, and every time I looked at it, time is just, you would know it there yourself. Sometimes you think that, oh, I've got an extra 10 or 15 minutes, and you get into a conversation with somebody, and it just goes fast. So I've been saying to Mal, I might get you on this Monday for a wee recap. He's like, no problem. Then I've had to say no. And then last week again, I smelled, do you know what, can we leave it? So then this week probably could.
And I'd imagine, Brendan, a conversation with you isn't short either.
I just asked the questions, Michaela.
I can see how the time flies.
Well, hey, Michael McMullen's a great man. He's such a great guy for helping out Highland Radio. There's a lot of updates and different things for us, Michaela. He's one of them people where, and you know it yourself doing the show there, that when you look to people and ask for them, there's a lot of people always very accommodating and those people are great because you know they'll always be there when you need them.
Yeah.
And it's great to rely on people like that, and he you know, he's great at his job. He'll always give you a great detail on the games.
Aye, absolutely. Well, that is after the 7 o'clock news tonight, and Brendan Devaney will be in studio, presenter of the DL debate, and it's podcasted as well then afterwards, isn't it, Brendan?
That's it, podcast at ninetradio.com and wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, tune in. That's the way of it now. People like to often say they catch it at different times, heading for walks.
Yeah.
So all good, Michaela.
That's
yeah,
it.
thanks.
Great, Brendan. I'll let you get back to the day job. Thanks a million.
No problem.
That is Brendan Devaney there, presenter of the DL debate. A couple of your comments coming in. We were chatting just before 11 about the Irish language in school and the number of exemptions that have been sought. The spoken language is not taught in schools at all. We teach children how to read and write. We need to put more emphasis on speaking. That is what I was saying as well whenever I studied Irish, that it was just about learning the grammar for your exam. And, I was chatting to Donna Marie there was one of the ads was in Irish, and I was saying, I could pick out, I know that says and now, but my understanding of the Irish language is very, very limited. There's little point in having our young people fluent in Irish, as I don't think it would be much use in Australia, where they have to go because they can't afford to live in their own country. But I think it's about having a bit of heritage, isn't it? And being able to say to somebody, that I, hold a conversation with somebody if you come home, or, if there's somebody in Australia as well. I don't think it depends on where you live in the world, whether you can use your Irish language or not. I like to do my Christmas shopping locally here in Donegal, and I'd encourage and commend the local Christmas clubs which make it helpful for families, and I like to think local secondary students could avail the opportunity to earn some cash with the extra business when people shop local. Christmas is not meant to cause stress. Peace and goodwill is the message of Christ, the longest part of the word Christmas. Another listener says, I feel Michaela is very down on the NFL game yesterday. The amount of tourist and tourism it brought into the country is amazing. The Irish government gave over €9 million to bring the NFL to Croke Park. Why is no one commenting on that? I did say that it was, a great spectacle, and obviously it was very Americanized, the way that they had the halftime performance and things like that. But I don't think it was a negative thing. I did also highlight that it was a huge cost to the state to bring it here, but another listener had asked, is it something we should include in the All-Ireland final day at Croke Park? And I don't know if that would dilute the national game and what we know it as, but you know, if you have an opinion on that, get in touch with us here. Another listener says, I wasn't at the NFL at the weekend, but watched most of it on TV. It was a great show and actually amazing to have it here, but it was all funded by our government, the Irish government, that doesn't have money for other things. The Irish are getting just as bad as the Americans with overdoing things. Yesterday and the days around it are great for tourism. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back again in a couple of minutes.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Crawford Tiles Castlefin final sale of the year. 2-day sale starts Friday 3rd of October and finishing 3 p.m. Saturday October 4th. 20% off all tiles, 10% off bathware and wood flooring. Job lots available. Remember, at Crawford Tiles Castlefin, we've got it covered for you. Call 91 43942. Fitters and delivery available.
A chánaí cóirí income féin fasúnathe. Tá an dáta dzera le hiag agus tílacha an tainú lás trucha di era for ag dridum linn. Má dhéanaan tú íciacht agus tílacha trí Ross, jói tú sína ama go dtí an níú lá déag de bhína saona. Le haid tila ólis nó chun chlóru lai Ross, téchuig www.revenue.ie/íag agus tílach. Íag agus tílach an am.
Bakery favourites for less dough. Now that's something to value. At Lidl, we freshly prepare everything in our bakery every day using the best ingredients for perfectly baked breads and treats at a tasty price. The proof? 3 selected pastries for just €3 with Lidl Plus. Lidl, more to value.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want and have them printed instantly within an hour or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time is now 18 minutes past 11. I'm joined now on the line by Marina Carlin, who is the chairperson of the Rosemount Residents Association in Letterkenny. Good morning, Marina.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Good morning.
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah. So a car transporter trailer was stolen from the Rosemount Lane area on Sunday evening, which was yesterday. What do we know about this incident, Marina?
Well, what we know so far is that it's a small red trailer. There's a bit of damage to the passenger side rear light. It's quite an old trailer. It was hand-built probably in the 1970s. It would be suitable for a small car or a van. Mm-hmm. And it was stolen at 1846 yesterday. What looks like a white Skoda Octavia or Ford Mondeo car turned down Rosemount. It stopped, it took the trailer, and then it continued to drive down to the Pierce Road. And it's been reported to the Garda, and also it's on our Rosemount Resident Facebook page. So, we're looking for any information about this, if they could contact the Garda or if they could contact our Facebook page, because we have a Rosemount Resident. It's called the Rosemount Residents Association.
And that's quite good detail. And I suppose, a lot of people would notice a car transporter trailer attached to a vehicle. Yeah. So hopefully there is someone out there that would know or have any detail of it. Yeah, and it's red, so it's quite, it's distinctive. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's an old trailer, so that's also distinctive, yes.
And I suppose this is a huge loss to the owner because, it's not cheap to purchase things like this.
No, and the thing is, what we're trying to do is, one of the reasons that we have the Rosemount Residents Association is that we're looking out for each other in the community. So this is good because people are coming, with different pieces of information. So that's really good. Yeah, we're really pleased about that.
It's great to have residents associations like this, and I suppose it provides that peace of mind to others that everybody in the area is looking out for each other.
Yeah, well, what we're sort of saying is, like, we've set up the Rosemount Residents Association last year, and it's basically to preserve the spirit of Old Letterkenny, which we have here. we have a very wonderful spirit here that's like what you would have found in the past. We're actually currently seeking to get architectural conservation area status at the moment. We've put in a submission to Donegal County Council, and we're looking for support for that because we're trying to keep, what the sense of community and the architectural conservation, the heritage of Rosemount. But we're also in a time where, individualism is being promoted more than connection, and connection is really, really important. It's important for people's well-being and everything else. So I think the idea of communities is becoming, absolutely much more vital. So what we're trying to do here in Rosemount is to keep that for the future. We're kind of a link between the past and the future, and we want to keep it for the future generations. We've had great responses so far. We've been up the town on Culture Night, and we were up the town on Saturday, and we're gathering support, and we've had fantastic responses from people, and I think that it's something that we really want to have. So it's like Church Lane, for example, and they've been very supportive of us. And a lot of people have been supportive, and even among the wider diaspora, because we had an article in the paper. Paddy Walsh did a fantastic article for us in summer, and one of the points we were making was that even among the diaspora out in the world, that Rosemount is one of those areas that they're carrying with them as kind of symbolic of old Letterkenny.
Yeah, and it's people's identity as well.
Now, yes, and the whole idea, we're very lucky here that we've such an amazing community. Like even this morning is an example of that, because we're here for each other. So it's not, even though it's awful that happened, it's like we're all kind of looking out for each other. So it's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what we're kind of, that's why we're trying at the minute to maintain Rosemount as it was for the future generations, because this is something that once this is lost, we can never replace it. We can never replace, and the thing is, there's so much research now that's linking, the sense of being connected to your community as positive for well-being and positive for mental health. So that's what we're trying to do, because I think in the future this is going to be seen as so much more valuable, because we need it.
Yeah.
We're social animals. We need to be connected to other people.
Yeah, well, as you say, Marina, those efforts will continue, and I suppose I would just encourage anybody with information regarding that red car transporter trailer that has been stolen to, as you mentioned there, get in touch with yourselves on the Facebook page or contact Gardaí here in Letterkenny. Thank you so much, Marina, for raising that with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to change conversation now. I mentioned at the start of the programme there during the newspaper review that the Taoiseach has more or less ruled out a border poll before 2030. He says more is to be done, no border poll before 2030. So that's according to Micheál Martin. Somebody who I think would disagree with that is Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So this is something obviously your party Sinn Féin has been campaigning on for quite a while now. Do you think these comments from Micheál Martin are disappointing?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't think Micheál Martin has any interest in the United Ireland whatsoever. That's been his comments repeatedly. You have to have a plan. If you advocate for United Ireland, you have to have a plan, a process that takes you there. And what Sinn Féin have said repeatedly over recent years is that it is inevitable that we will have a border poll. It's in the Good Friday Agreement. It is inevitable. It will happen. I would imagine, 2030 and around that period. And you must prepare. So we've talked about a citizens' assembly where you look at issues like what kind of health service would we have? What would our constitution look like? Education? How would you protect the unionist community in the north? That's the way you responsibly prepare. You don't do it the British did with Brexit, where they went over the cliff edge and it was a disaster. And that's all we've asked for repeatedly. And what Micheál Martin keeps talking about is reconciliation. We all need to get along, and someday later. I just don't believe he's serious. And I think if you look at Colm Eastwood's distancing from Fianna Fáil over this matter, Leo Varadkar's comments, you can see that Micheál Martin is way behind the curve, and eventually he will be replaced as leader of Fianna Fáil, and then we might have a serious conversation.
But do you think that, we're into the end of 2025, so in reality 4 years before a border poll, do you honestly think that that is enough time for people to understand, the implications of a border poll?
Yeah, I do, and I just think that in everything that Micheál Martin has said over recent years, I believe that his Ireland, the Ireland that he believes in, stops at Dundalk, it stops at Bridgend, it stops at Lifford. I mean, he talked years ago about Fianna Fáil organising in the north of Ireland. They never did. They formed an alliance with the SDLP.
Mm-hmm.
The SDLP has walked away from that now because I think we all see that Fianna Fáil under Micheál Martin's leadership is not a United Ireland party. I'm sorry to say that because lots of ordinary Fianna Fáil members I know in Donegal do want a United Ireland. They would want to see a plan. He's the Taoiseach. He's the leader of the country. And he won't even agree to an Oireachtas committee on Irish unity. He doesn't want to have the conversation. He wants to kick it down the road again and again. I think I have to say, I think it's reckless because it will happen and we won't have prepared properly for it.
And in terms of Micheál Martin saying that there's still work to be done on fulfilling the potential of the Good Friday Agreement, what do you understand he means by that?
Well, I find the comments, I've heard him say before, but it never, I suppose, does dilute the shock. The Good Friday Agreement was 27 years ago. 27 years, over a generation ago. We have power sharing government. It's not perfect, but it's there. It's been in place. And I just think he needs to be honest. I do not want a United Ireland. Just say it out loud. I don't want to prepare for it. I don't want to talk about it. And like here we are in Donegal, and we see this huge movement of workers across the border every single day. We see the impact of partition so negatively on Derry, West Tyrone and Donegal. We're working together. We're trying to undo it, unravel it. It's so clear that on this small island, the economic benefits of United Ireland, they're overwhelming. It's a positive conversation. It's a chance to reset our country in terms of our health services, our education systems, agreeing how we deal with housing. So this isn't just about uniting 26 with 6. This is about a conversation about how we make this country better by uniting it. And anybody who cares about United Ireland, who wants it, is up for that. We want it. We've tried in Sinn Féin to work with civil society. We've had events in Donegal. One's organised by Sinn Féin, one's organised by a range of civil society to discuss it. We've tried to do, without being in government, we've tried to develop this again and again. But what we have with Micheál Martin, as long as he's there, he doesn't want United Ireland. I'm absolutely convinced about that. He sees Ireland as his wee Republic of Ireland, and of course that fails people in so many ways.
Do you feel that he doesn't want a United Ireland because you argued that many would be in favour of United Ireland, but there's also that other cohort that they're not against the idea of a United Ireland, but they don't understand and can't see the benefits of it? Do you think he's in that same boat, or you just think straight line he doesn't want a United Ireland?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really important question, because those of us who advocate for United Ireland, and we agreed in the Good Friday Agreement that we would all peacefully try to achieve that. And that was a massive achievement, to move people away from conflict that lasted, 25 years, to move towards a peaceful advancement of it. And I think anybody who wants United Ireland will go out and argue the case and advocate. And what's really interesting is that Fianna Fáil used to tease Fine Gael about being weak on a United Ireland and that they were the Republican Party. And, Micheál Martin, I think, has ruined all of that because Leo Varadkar is much stronger now, the former Taoiseach. He's made very important speeches in recent times. You have Colm Eastwood, with the SDLP. So a United Ireland needs a whole range of people. I'm very clear Sinn Féin can never achieve a United Ireland on our own. We want to see as many people as possible in that discussion, advocating. It's a positive discussion. It's one that has a chance to reset our island in terms of the generations to come. And Micheál Martin, I think, is stuck in the past. I think he's stuck in this mentality of, we have our Republic of Ireland. This is our country, and I just don't think he's one bit serious about it. These latest comments to me confirm, my view. And it's a pity that the people in Fianna Fáil who want United Ireland tolerate this, never challenge him, and have allowed him to destroy their credibility on the issue. I hope the next leader of Fianna Fáil has a very different mentality. As long as Micheál Martin is there, he's ruined their credibility on this issue.
Do you think, though, Padraig, that this kind of, I'm somebody who lives in Northern Ireland, obviously crosses the border to work, but I can't at the minute, I don't feel I'm stuck in the past, but I can't see the social and economic benefits of a united Ireland at this stage. And that's where I feel that maybe there isn't, I know Sinn Féin has been campaigning on this for so long, but there isn't enough dialogue to convince people maybe of my generation. There's so many people of different views that this would be a positive. I feel that maybe, by 2030, it's too soon, that we do need more work to be done on this and that we do need these discussions, proper discussions rather than campaigning to start.
We see, I agree with you, but we need to start. It needs to start at some stage. And, I'm very confident in the economic benefits of United Ireland. I have no fear. I can see nothing but positives of Donegal, Derry, Tyrone being one region without any, legal impediments to us, achieving our full potential. Partition has done huge harm to our region. I mean, no region has been more affected by this artificial border that's been put in place. But the conversation has to start. He actually has to start to win hearts and minds. Micheál Martin has no interest in doing that. He's not an advocate for United Ireland. I don't believe he's a Republican in any way, shape or form. And I'm sorry to see that he's the leader of Fianna Fáil, because here's the thing, Sinn Féin on our own cannot win this referendum. We want everybody who genuinely advocates for United Ireland to join the discussion. So, I mean, people like yourself who, are not sure or certain, that's the reason why you need to prepare. And, it will come.
Because I feel at this stage, the argument is kind of maybe missing, the working people, the generation of people that, don't remember the troubles, that, it's us that, it needs to focus on to outline the positives and negatives as well, that maybe, that's generations being missed too.
Yeah, and you see, it's not just about convincing unionism, it's about convincing all of us that this would make our lives better, and that's what those of us who advocate for United Ireland, I passionately believe that the lives of all of our people on the island of Ireland would be improved. We see the damage that the Tory party and sadly the Labour Party are doing to the north, where they are holding back the potential. It's just a small. Remember, the population of Britain, or if you want to use the term the United Kingdom, I think is over 60 million. It's only 1.5 million people in the north. It's not even. I think it's about the same size as the city of Leeds. So it just doesn't have any impact on the political spectrum. Whereas in Ireland, 1.5 million is a huge part of our population, and would have a big influence. It would just be, I mean, I think for where we live in the border areas, the benefits are huge. But for all of Ireland, the economic benefits will be there. So I'm clear about that. I'm confident about that. I want to have the conversation. I want to have a plan. But Micheál Martin has no interest in that. I don't believe we would have had a Good Friday Agreement if Micheál Martin had been the leader of Fianna Fáil back then. I don't think he's any commitment. He would have kicked it down the road, said you need to talk more and talk more and talk more. 27 years since the Good Friday Agreement, and he's still talking about we need to work at it. That's the sad thing for me, is that you now have somebody like Micheál Martin who just has no interest. And as long as he's the Taoiseach in power, it will be stymied, it will be held back. And I think that's a tragedy, because at some point the population in the north will get to a point, and in the very near future you can see that. You can see the opinion polls. But what we're looking for is a proper planned preparation.
And how important, Padraig, is that citizens' assembly in this then?
Well, a citizens' assembly is where you bring in all the voices, where you thrash out, and you would have to take it in segments. How would our health service improve across the island? I mean, the health service in the north, as you know, has been starved of money, has been dismantled by the Tories and now the Labour Party. It's in terrible shape. We have a strange health system in the south where, a very large percentage of people have to get private health insurance to protect themselves. So all of that needs to be looked at. We need to look at our education system in the United Ireland. We need to look at a new constitution. We're going to have a new constitution in due course. And then protections for unionism. I mean, how does the unionist identity be protected in the United Ireland? And I'm looking forward to all of that. I'm excited about that. I'm positive about all of that. But unfortunately, what's going to happen is, if we leave people like Fianna Fáil and Micheál Martin, leader of Fianna Fáil, in charge, we'll go over a cliff edge, like what happened with Brexit in Britain, and that's a disaster. Look at the outworkings of Brexit for the British people. So it's just my frustration, and it's a deep frustration, because I've seen so many positive conversations in recent years. But as you say, if you don't have somebody in the driving seat who wants this, Micheál Martin does not want this, then people like yourself and winning hearts and minds can't be done. It's really, really deeply frustrating. But hopefully, Micheál Martin's time won't be too long, and we have somebody who's serious about it who replaces him.
Deputy Padraig McLaughlin, Sinn Féin Chief Whip and spokesperson on fisheries and the marine. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you. Take care.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back again shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
If you're going through a difficult time, you're not alone. There are now more mental health support services available for men. These include free counselling sessions, in person or online, as well as confidential phone support, available 7 days a week. Getting support can make a real difference to you and your loved ones. To find out more about the full range of free services available, visit yourmentalhealth.ie/men. From the HSE.
What difference can changing your home heating make? Well, if you switch from oil to Keller gas, it's a bigger difference than you think. Because every new Keller customer gets a blend of our renewable gas, bio-LPG. Works like regular gas but with lower emissions. So now every cosy night in and instant hot shower is that bit cleaner, greener and more sustainable. Switch today and you'll also get a free boiler. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more at kellergas.ie. Keller, the energy that connects us.
At FBD Insurance, we've been supporting businesses across Donegal, Sligo and beyond for over 50 years. Pop into your local insurance experts in the FBD branch on Main Street, Letterkenny, or contact us on 074 912 6299 and see how we can support your business today. Open from 9:30am to 5pm Monday to Friday. FBD Insurance. Support. It's what we do. Business insurance is underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited, trading as FBD Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Centra, we're bringing a little Naples to Navan, a little Milan to Monkstown and a little Rome to Rosslare with our Italian event. With great offers, like Barilla Sauce Selected Range $2.50 each. Lore Instant Coffee 150g range €7 each. Plus Peroni and Moretti 12 bottle packs €16 each. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
A water conservation order continues to be in place in the Milford area until October 13th to safeguard the water supply for essential purposes. This order follows many months of dry weather, putting the water source under stress. Please do not use a hosepipe or sprinkler and conserve water wherever you can. Together, we can safeguard our water resources. Learn more at water.ie/WCO. Uisce Éireann, delivering water services for Ireland.
Hi, welcome back to the show. It's Michaela Clark in this morning for Greg Hughes. I'm joined now by Adam Maguire, who is the author of Bail Out, the Bail Out Babies. I suppose, Adam, good morning to you first, but we'll start with the title. What is Bail Out Babies?
The Bail Out Babies is about the young generation of adults now, the people who are kind of stuck due to the housing crisis. And I call them the bailout babies because they're the people who would have been born during the Celtic Tiger, if you think kind of from early mid-90s all the way through to 2007. They're now 18 up into their kind of mid-30s. So they're the people who would have been born into, this seeming endless prosperity. They probably would have grown up thinking that was for them, but by the time they became adults and by the time they came out of college, it was all gone, and they're now dealing with the fallout from the bailout and the crash, which we're still picking up the pieces of really today, especially in housing.
And how do you feel that this has reshaped this next generation in Ireland?
Well, I think, it's not just about the fact that they can't get a house. Obviously, there's a lot more that leads to. So, for example, it makes it much harder for them to socialise and maybe to find partners because they're living at home for much longer. We know there's a huge cohort of young adults who are still living at home with their parents far longer than would have been the case in the past. And that makes it harder to date, because just on a very practical basis, where are you going to bring them when you want to go back of an evening? Even if you have very understanding parents, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. It creates tension in the household as well because you have all of these adults falling over each other in a house that was never meant to hold that many people, and that delays things like just being able to go out into the world, being able to learn all of the things you're supposed to learn as an adult about independence and getting by, and it delays them starting families as well, which obviously has a huge impact if that's something that they choose to do. So there's this huge knock-on effects there, and I think it kind of infantilizes this generation to some degree, that they're kind of forced to still be kids at home, even when they're maybe well educated and probably have a good job as well. They come home and they're still essentially children in their parents' houses.
Yeah, because there was CSO data published last week, and we were obviously interested in the Donegal figures, and it showed that the average age in 2023 and 2024 for first-time property buyers was 44, and all those things you talked about, when you see it in black and white like that, it really does hit home, excuse the pun, that this is the reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a huge shift in such a short amount of time. It's not that long ago that the average age of a first-time buyer would have been maybe in their mid to late 20s. Then it slipped into the 30s, and now, as you say, it's heading into the 40s, certainly in some counties. And we used to be the youngest in Europe in terms of moving out of home. Now we're the oldest. The Italians probably think that we're kind of mammy's boys still, because we're just taking so long to get out of the home because it's just so expensive to do that. And yeah, it has huge impacts, and as I say, not just on the fact that these people can't get a house of their own, but it impacts them socially, it impacts them romantically, it impacts their mental health. And it's I suppose part of the problem as well is that there's no obvious end in sight, and there's no people I spoke to when I was researching the book. Some of them just said, I just don't think I'll ever be able to buy a home. Others thought, well, if I work hard and save, maybe in 10, 15 years, I'll be able to buy a home, which, you're essentially asking these people to give up their young adulthood, a time when they maybe should be going out and experiencing things and living their lives a bit. The only hope they have of getting home is if they, knuckle down and do absolutely nothing other than save. And even then, because house prices rise by so much every year, there's no promise that 5 years of hard saving will be enough to have a deposit to buy a home of your own.
And it's such a stark contrast to when they were born. They were born in the boom when, everybody was buying houses, didn't matter what price the house was, and now they're struggling with the fallout of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the real cruelty of this, is that for some of them, certainly the ones who would have been born in the 90s, they would have been old enough to see the Celtic Tiger. Maybe they kind of enjoyed some of the benefits in terms of, going away on nice holidays, or their parents buying a nice big house. And they might have seen even their older siblings who went out into the world and were able to get a good job and a home relatively easily. And then that was just taken away from them. Now, that being said, a lot of that, as we know, was kind of built on debt, and people were getting 110% mortgages on massively overvalued properties, and their incomes were never going to be able to cover that. And it's not to suggest we should go back to that kind of a situation. But the pendulum has really swung in the opposite direction now, where people who are on very good incomes and well above average incomes, even they can't get on the property ladder now because of the way prices have increased compared to incomes.
And do you see this as something now that will continue to shape generations to come?
Well, I think so. I mean, obviously there's all sorts of attempts to solve the housing crisis, but even, with ambitious kind of government targets, you're still talking about there being a shortfall in supply of housing versus demand for many, many years to come. So that's kind of the kind of worrying thing about this, is that there's no obvious end in sight to this, and it means that the people who are now maybe in their teens, or even in preteen ages, you kind of wonder, are they facing into the same future? I've young kids myself, and I wonder, will I be dealing with this in 20 years time or more, when they'll still be living at home at an age when they probably should be out and doing their own thing? And a lot of people I spoke to, I was really surprised and kind of somewhat depressed by the amount of people I spoke to who were planning to emigrate, and were well on advanced in terms of their plans to emigrate, because they just thought, well, I'll have a better chance somewhere else. And it's a really unusual thing. Obviously, we're a country that's been used to emigration in the past. We tend to, though, see it during downturns. This is the first time now that we're seeing more Irish people leave the country than come into the country at a time when the economy is technically booming. It's a very unusual thing, but unfortunately, I think it's a sign that young people here just don't kind of see any prospects in the near future for them, and they're looking elsewhere to see if they have a better chance.
And any of those that you spoke to, did they indicate what they feel needed to change?
I think it really is a simple and unfortunately no one has the silver bullet on this, but I think it really is a simple thing, that they know that more houses need to be built, and they feel like they need help as well. And a lot of people, we're seeing this increase, the bank of mom and dad, as it's called, where people are getting money from their parents. There are some people who are lucky enough to have parents who have that kind of money to give them to get them on the property ladder.
But that's such pressure on the parents as well.
It is huge pressure on the parents, and there's a lot of people who obviously just don't have that money. And I spoke to one older couple who had gotten out what's called a lifetime loan. So basically, they'd gotten a loan out on the value of their property and given that money to one of their children to buy a house. And the idea is that that will be paid off when they die, and that their property is sold. But that's huge pressure as well. It's asking a lot of them, and it also kind of raised this question in my head. Are we raising a generation of people who sit and think, well, the only hope I have of getting a home is when my parents die? Which would be a horrible thought that people would have to be thinking. But if that's kind of the prospect that you have, because if you need to have your parents giving you a leg up, if all the hard work in the world that you're doing isn't enough, that's a real sign of dysfunction in the market.
Yeah, and it's such a sad prospect, I suppose, for parents and these children as well. But unfortunately, as you highlighted there, it's just the reality of so many people nowadays.
It really is, yeah, and it is. Obviously, this book is focused on the young adults themselves, but it does reflect some of the difficulties with the parents, because I'm sure there are parents out there who are have adult children at home, and they'd love to see them out in the real world, and starting their lives properly. They probably like them out of their hair as well. Because they probably had a thought in their head, well, by this age I'll have my own place and my own freedom, and I'll be able to do this, that, and the other. And instead they're still having to kind of, in some ways, take care of their children, and yeah, it also had, there were some cases, people I spoke to, of real tension and real ugliness, because of the frustration that was growing in the house with adult children at home, and it getting to the point of parents essentially being bullied by their children, because of this living in close quarters, and the amount of frustration that had built up. So really kind of ugly side effects from all of this, beyond the simple fact that people are frustrated at not being able to buy a home.
Yeah, and never mind, the relationships you discussed there, it's that those relationships then with their parents are being damaged as well. And they just can't seem to win either way.
No, not really. And, I spoke to a psychologist about, the effects that this has. And as she pointed out to me, when people become adults, and they have their own lives and their own thoughts and ways of doing things. That's kind of the time they need to go out and live on their own. And the ideal kind of parent-child relationship then is that you see them maybe once a week or whatever it might be. You catch up and then they go away and do their own thing. And that's you kind of need that relationship, because if you're forced to live on top of each other when you're two very different people, and maybe the parent is still parenting like it's a child, the child is still responding to the parent like a parent rather than another adult. And it's just stressful, and as you say, it leads to just potential for a bad relationship there, as opposed to them being someone that you see from time to time and you can get along lovely with, and then when you've had enough of them, they can go to their own place and you can forget all about it.
Yeah. So Adam, where can someone purchase the book?
So it's available in all major bookshops and lots of independent bookshops as well. Available online as well. You can obviously order it online, or you can buy it as an ebook too on the likes of Eason's and the bookshop as well. .ie. So all major bookshops, you should be able to find a copy of it, hopefully.
Great. Anna Maguire, author of The Bailout Babies, How Ireland's Financial Crash Reshaped the Next Generation and What It Means for the Future. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. We're going to take another quick break and we'll be back shortly.
Get ready, Donegal. The big Highland Bingo Party is here.
On Saturday the 29th of November, the Villa Rose Hotel Ballabuffaid transforms into the wildest Christmas party of the year.
Hosted by me, Keith Fletcher, Lee Gooch and Marty Friel on the decks.
Think festive cocktails, classic party anthems, ridiculous games of course, and mad bingo mayhem.
Loads of prizes on the night, with a €1,000 top cash prize up for grabs.
You better be quick. Tickets are on sale. Grab yours on Eventbrite or check out highlandradio.com.
The big Highland Bingo Party. Over 18s.
Ha-ha! It's bingo, but not as you know it.
Right now, at B&Q, there's hundreds of prices cut in paint, flooring and building to make DIY cheaper. You can do it when you B&Q it. Prices held, dates vary. See DIY.ie for details. Subject to availability.
And now, a look at the forecast. We're seeing lots of wind, plenty of sunshine to come, and a long-term outlook that's bright for Ireland.
At AirGrid, our forecast is for a sustainable energy future. We're upgrading the electricity grid so every home, business and community can benefit. We're powering up Ireland. Learn more at airgrid.ie.
All innovative, all inspiring, all yours. Discover the Audi 261 range with Audi All Access at your local dealership. Join us at our nationwide open house event from October 17th to 24th and experience exhilarating test drives, unmissable offers and exclusive product upgrades. Book a test drive with Audi All Access today. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
She's the Queen of Country and Irish, Margot, live in concert. Catch Margot with the Ryan Turner Band Wednesday the 22nd of October at the Mount Errigal Hotel in Letterkenny, with special guests Shinny Cramsey and Damian Davis. Tickets available now at the hotel reception. Call 07491 22 700. Join Margot at the Mount Errigal Hotel October 22nd for an unforgettable evening of music and memories.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With new season styles arriving daily, discover the latest fashion, footwear and accessories for autumn in store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Today's weather, any mist and fog will clear this morning. Today will be mainly cloudy with scattered rain and drizzle. Highest temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees. That's quite high for this time of year, is it? It was absolutely beautiful last week. So hopefully maybe the sunshine will come out when we have those nice temperatures. I don't know if that is going to be the case, unfortunately, though. Some of your comments now. Tell Padraig for one and hundreds like me, we are sick of Sinn Féin chatting about United Ireland. There's more important things going on in our lives. They will be in for a big shock when they get their border poll. Look at the state of Northern Ireland and they are empire. That's what I was trying to indicate, that, you know, so many people have so much going on in their lives. People are working, people are caring for children, people are sick, people are looking after sick people that maybe they're not as invested in a united Ireland. I personally think 2030 for a border poll is very early. I don't think that, based on the evidence that I've heard to date, that a united Ireland would be good, but at the same time, I would not accept it. Obviously, if it's the will of the people, but I just think there's not enough evidence there for it to be positive. And that listener says, look at the state of Northern Ireland, and Sinn Féin are in power there. I do think that, you know, it doesn't just depend on Sinn Féin, but there's so many issues both North and South are dealing with, and there just needs to be a lot more discussions on it. I do think a border poll, you know, will happen and should happen, but maybe 2030 is just a bit early. Former councillor Ian McGarvey says it's about time someone conducted research of what financial implications it would cost to run a Northern Ireland, a united Ireland, I should say. For a border poll to be successful, be 2040 at the earliest. Another listener says, Micheál Martin does not want a united Ireland. We know that by now, but the GFA provides us the mechanism for a border poll, whether he agrees or not. The conversation is happening and up and down the whole country, and the government needs to start planning for it now. Yeah, conversations do need to happen. And as Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin was saying there, you know, if they got the Citizens' Assembly up and running, I do think that would be a good start. And, you know, I suppose people like myself have concerns, or, you know, don't really understand and can't see the benefits at the minute. So something like the Citizens' Assembly would maybe help that. Another listener says we need to start preparing for a united Ireland. The Irish government are always reacting to events and never proactively preparing for anything. Nigel Farage could spring a border poll at short notice. Padraig is absolutely correct in his analysis. Another listener says, doesn't surprise me about Micheál Martin. This is the man who said before the election that there was only one side to blame for the troubles, and that it was the IRA. This is how little he knows his history or cares about what happens up there. In relation to the conversation we were having with Mary T. Sweeney earlier, where does Christ come into all this commercial hype? How many children know what this industry is about? And we were discussing Christmas. Is it starting too early in the shops? I personally think that we should at least get Halloween over. I have an 11-year-old boy who has dyslexia. His needs weren't met at school, so I had to get him assessed privately. He is not entitled to an Irish exemption as he needed 2 years of resource time to qualify. If I had been listened to initially, we would have gotten the exemption. The move to secondary school isn't available if you don't have the exemption. I know other parents are in the same situation. Another listener says the decline of the Irish language has a lot to do with its relatively low status as a language of daily life unless you live in a Gaeltacht area. Would he agree? This was a question to Sean, the principal of Collisha Alley, who was in earlier. Would he agree its failure is a lot to do with how it's taught? Too much time on grammar and not enough on conversation. That's what he was alluding to, that there is an awful lot of good work being done, but it does need to be streamlined as well to ensure that people do carry it with them into the future. That's where we have to leave it on the 9 till noon show this morning. John Breslin is up next on Around the Northwest. Thanks to Caroline Orr and to Shannon Wilkin for producing and for all their help on the show today. Good morning.
You are your baby's food.